The moment Victor Kane's fist came at Logan Reed's face, everyone in that cafe thought they knew how this would end. They were wrong. What happens when a man who spent 15 years mastering violence for his country is forced to use it again? Not for a mission, not for orders, but because some arrogant fool wouldn't leave him alone? This is the story of a single father who just wanted his morning coffee in peace, and the showdown that reminded an entire room why some battles are over before they even begin. Stay with me until the end. Hit that like button and comment what city you're watching from so I can see how far this story travels. The Bluebird Café sat on the corner of Ashford and Main like it had for the past 30 years. Unassuming, familiar, the kind of place where the coffee was always hot, and the regulars knew each other's orders by heart. Morning light filtered through the front windows, catching dust particles that drifted lazy and unbothered through the air. The smell of fresh pastries mixed with dark roast, and somewhere in the back, a radio played classic rock just loud enough to fill the silence without demanding attention. Logan Reed pushed through the door at exactly 7:15, same as he had every Wednesday morning for the past 8 months. The bell above chimed, a small, bright sound that briefly interrupted the low murmur of conversation. He was 37, but looked older in certain lights, younger in others. Medium height, lean build, the kind of unremarkable appearance that let him disappear into crowds without trying. His hair was dark brown, cut short but not military short anymore. And his clothes were plain, jeans, a gray Henley, work boots that had seen better days. But it was his eyes that told a different story, if anyone bothered to look. Pale blue, constantly moving, cataloging everything. The couple by the window, the businessman with his laptop, the college student with her textbooks spread across 2 tables, the emergency exits, the blind spots, the angles. Old habits didn't just die hard. Sometimes they didn't die at all. "Morning, Logan," called Maria from behind the counter. She was 50-something, with kind eyes and silver streaks in her black hair that she wore pulled back in a practical bun. "The usual? Please." His voice was quiet, the kind that made people lean in slightly to hear. Not weak, controlled. There was a difference. "Ava doing okay? I haven't seen her in a while." Logan's expression softened at his daughter's name. "She's good. Growing too fast. Thinks she's too old now to come get coffee with her old man." Maria laughed, the sound warm and genuine. "They all think that at 12. Give it a couple years. She'll come back around." She started preparing his order without needing to ask the details. Black coffee, large. 1 blueberry muffin, heated. Logan nodded his thanks and turned to survey the room properly. This was the part most people wouldn't notice, wouldn't understand even if they were watching. He wasn't being paranoid. He was being prepared. 15 years in Army Special Forces had rewired something fundamental in how his brain processed the world. Threat assessment wasn't something he did consciously anymore. It was as automatic as breathing. The cafe was roughly 40 feet across, 30 deep, 12 tables, 7 currently occupied. Front door and rear exit through the kitchen. Large windows. Tactical disadvantage, but excellent sight lines to the street. 4 blind spots where someone could approach without being seen from most angles. He chose a table in the back corner, the one that gave him a clear view of both entrances and most of the room. His back to the wall. Always his back to the wall. Logan sat down, felt the familiar weight of his phone in his pocket, the slight pressure of his wallet in the other. No weapon. He hadn't carried one in 8 months, not since he'd signed his discharge papers and walked away from that life for good. Some guys couldn't do it, couldn't adjust. They felt naked without the weight of a sidearm, vulnerable without the tactical advantage. Logan had felt relief. He pulled out his phone, checked his messages, nothing urgent. A reminder from Ava's school about parent-teacher conferences next week. A text from his brother asking if he'd watched the game last night. He hadn't. A notification about an overdue library book he needed to return. Normal things, civilian things, the kind of mundane concerns that used to feel impossibly distant when he was deployed in places where every sunrise might be his last. Maria brought his coffee and muffin, set them down with a familiar clink of ceramic. "Here you go, hun. Thanks." He wrapped his hands around the mug, felt the heat seep into his palms. Small comfort, but comfort nonetheless. For the next 10 minutes, Logan existed in a space of careful peace. He sipped his coffee, broke off pieces of the muffin, watched the morning unfold around him with the detached observation of someone who'd learned to find calm in routine. The businessman closed his laptop and left, nodding at Maria on his way out. The college student was highlighting something in her textbook with fierce concentration, her brow furrowed. The couple by the window was having a quiet argument about something, their voices too low to make out the words, but their body language spoke volumes. Normal, safe, boring even. Logan should have known better than to trust boring. The door opened at 7:32. The bell chimed, and everything changed. The man who walked in didn't enter a room, he invaded it. 6'2", easily 220 pounds, with the kind of build that came from expensive gyms and personal trainers rather than functional necessity. His suit was charcoal gray, probably cost more than Logan's entire wardrobe. His watch caught the light. Rolex, definitely real. His hair was styled with the kind of precision that required regular maintenance, and his shoes had the high shine of someone who'd never done manual labor in his life. But it wasn't the expensive clothes that filled the room with tension. It was the attitude that wore them. The man, Logan would later learn his name was Victor Kane, carried himself with the aggressive confidence of someone who'd never truly been told no, never faced real consequences, never learned that money and bluster weren't actual power. Logan recognized the type immediately, had run into plenty of them over the years. Rich kids playing tough, corporate climbers who mistook ruthlessness in business for actual strength, weekend warriors who thought owning guns made them dangerous. They were usually harmless, just loud and annoying. Usually. Victor's voice boomed across the cafe before he'd even made it to the counter. Finally. A place that's actually open. Do you people have any idea what actual service looks like? Or am I going to have to educate you? Maria's expression tightened, but her voice remained professional. Good morning, sir. What can I get for you? What can you... Victor laughed, a harsh sound with no humor in it. How about competence? You think you can manage that? Several heads turned now. The college student looked up from her textbook. The couple by the window stopped their argument. Logan's hand tightened slightly on his coffee mug, but he didn't move otherwise. Not his problem, not his fight. He'd promised himself, promised Ava, that he was done with fights. We've got coffee, pastries, sandwiches, Maria began. Coffee, Victor interrupted. Large, black. And don't screw it up like I'm sure you're planning to. Maria's jaw clenched, but she turned to make his order. Logan could see the tension in her shoulders, the slight tremor in her hands that spoke of restrained anger. She'd been nothing but kind to everyone who walked through that door every day, and now this asshole was treating her like help. Logan looked down at his muffin, tried to focus on the simple pleasure of his breakfast. Not his problem. Ava needed him stable, needed him present, needed him to not be the guy who couldn't walk away from confrontation. Victor's gaze swept the cafe while he waited, assessing, judging. His eyes landed on different tables, different people. And Logan could see him making calculations, looking for something, looking for an audience. Because that's what guys like Victor needed, witnesses to their dominance, confirmation of their superiority. Being an asshole in private had no value. But being an asshole in public, making someone back down while others watched, that was the drug they craved. Logan saw the moment Victor's attention locked onto him, felt the weight of that gaze like a physical thing. He didn't look up, didn't acknowledge it. Maybe if he stayed neutral, stayed quiet, the moment would pass. Maria finished the coffee, set it on the counter. That'll be $4.50. Victor threw a $5 bill on the counter without looking at her, his eyes still fixed on Logan's table. Keep it. Buy yourself a personality. A few people shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The college student looked like she wanted to say something but didn't. The couple by the window exchanged glances. Logan took a slow sip of his coffee, felt it burn slightly going down. Just a few more minutes. Finish breakfast, pay his tab, walk out. Easy. Victor picked up his coffee and started walking. Not toward the door, not toward an empty table, toward Logan. Every muscle in Logan's body registered the approach, cataloged the threat level, calculated responses. But he kept his expression neutral, his posture relaxed. Years of training allowed him to appear completely at ease while his mind ran through scenarios at lightning speed. Victor stopped 2 feet from Logan's table. Up close, Logan could see the slight redness around his eyes. Late night, probably drinking. Could smell the remnants of expensive cologne mixed with something else. Entitlement, maybe. Desperation for attention. This seat taken? Victor didn't wait for an answer, just pulled out the chair across from Logan and sat down hard enough to make it scrape loudly across the floor. Logan met his eyes briefly, then returned his attention to his muffin. Actually, I wasn't asking what you prefer. Victor leaned back in the chair, spreading his arms wide in a display of dominance. You know what I hate? People who take up space in public places like they own them. Sitting here all alone, taking up a whole table when other people might need it. The cafe had 5 empty tables. Logan didn't point this out. I'm almost finished, he said quietly. There are plenty of other... Did I ask you to leave? I don't think I asked you to leave. Victor's voice got louder, ensuring everyone could hear. I'm just making conversation. That a problem? You too good for conversation? Logan set down his coffee, folded his hands on the table, looked directly at Victor with those pale blue eyes that had stared down actual threats in actual combat zones. I'm not looking for trouble. Trouble? Victor laughed. Who said anything about trouble? I'm just being friendly, unless you've got a problem with friendly. It was a trap, and a clumsy one. If Logan stayed silent, Victor would escalate, claim he was being disrespected. If Logan engaged, Victor would twist it into confrontation. Either way, Victor got what he wanted. A scene, attention, the chance to dominate someone in public. Logan had seen this play out 100 times in 100 different bars and diners across a dozen countries. The script was always the same. Usually, it ended with the victim backing down or the aggressor getting bored and moving on. But sometimes, rarely, it ended differently. I think you should find another table, Logan said, his voice still quiet but with an edge now. Not threatening, just firm. I'm not interested in whatever this is. Victor's eyes lit up. There it was, the pushback he'd been fishing for. Whatever this is me being nice. But if you want me to be not nice, we can do that too. He reached across the table suddenly, grabbed Logan's coffee mug, and took a deliberate sip from it while maintaining eye contact. Then he set it down with exaggerated care. Tastes like bitch. The cafe went completely silent. Even the radio seemed to fade into background noise. Everyone was watching now, couldn't help it. Some with concern, some with the morbid curiosity that made people slow down at car accidents. Logan's expression didn't change. He looked at his coffee mug, at Victor, back at the mug. Then he slowly reached into his pocket, pulled out his wallet, extracted a $5 bill and set it on the table. For the coffee you just contaminated, he said evenly. I'll get another one. He started to stand and Victor moved. It happened fast. Victor accidentally knocked the table as he shifted his weight, sending Logan's coffee mug sliding across the surface. It tipped, spilled, sent hot coffee cascading across the table edge and directly onto Logan's lap. Logan jerked back instinctively, felt the burning liquid soak through his jeans. Not scalding, Maria never made it quite that hot, but uncomfortable as hell. Several people gasped. The college student's hand flew to her mouth. Oh, damn! Victor stood up quickly, but his expression was theatrical, not apologetic. My bad, man. That's what happens when you don't watch where you're going. Clumsy of me. He pulled out a handkerchief, actual cloth, monogrammed, and made a show of dabbing at the spill on the table while completely ignoring Logan's soaked jeans. Here, let me help clean up this mess you made. I made? Logan's voice was still quiet, but something had shifted in it. Something cold. Well, if you'd been paying attention instead of brooding in the corner like some kind of Batman wannabe, Victor gestured dismissively. Maybe learn to share space better, just saying. Logan stood completely still, coffee dripping from his jeans onto the floor. His hands hung loose at his sides. His breathing remained even, but something in his posture had changed, subtle, almost imperceptible, but undeniable. Maria appeared with a towel, her face flushed with anger. Logan, I'm so sorry. Not your fault. He took the towel, started dabbing at his jeans mechanically. Victor leaned against the table, arms crossed, watching with barely concealed satisfaction. You know what? I like this place. Think I'll come here more often. Make it my regular spot. He looked around the cafe, making sure everyone saw his smile. Unless that's a problem for anyone? No one answered. No one moved. Logan finished with the towel, handed it back to Maria. Thanks. Logan, please, you don't have to. I'll talk to him. It's fine. He picked up his wallet, left a $10 bill on the table. Keep the change. He turned to leave and Victor's hand shot out, gripped his shoulder. Not hard. Just enough. Just enough to stop him. Hold up. Where are your manners? I spilled coffee on you. The least you can do is accept my apology. Victor's grip tightened slightly. Or are you one of those guys who holds grudges? Can't let things go. Logan looked down at the hand on his shoulder, then at Victor's face, then back at the hand. Remove it. 2 words, barely above a whisper. Or what? Victor leaned in closer, his breath hot against Logan's ear. You gonna do something about it, tough guy? Because you don't look that tough to me. You look like someone who talks a big game but folds when... Logan moved. It wasn't dramatic, wasn't violent, wasn't even particularly fast from an outside perspective. But Victor's hand was suddenly no longer on Logan's shoulder, and Victor was stumbling backward, off balance. His wrist bent at an angle that made him gasp. Logan had simply turned his body, raised his arm, and applied pressure to a specific point that made Victor's grip useless. A basic joint manipulation, the kind taught in week 1 of combatives training. Nothing fancy, nothing aggressive, just effective. I asked politely. Logan released Victor's wrist and stepped back, putting distance between them. I'm asking again. Leave me alone. Victor's face went red. His hand went to his wrist, rubbing it. Around them, the cafe held its collective breath. You just assaulted me. Victor's voice was loud now, pitched to carry. Everyone saw that. You put your hands on me. You put your hands on me first. Logan's voice remained calm. I removed them. That's not assault. Bullshit! Victor looked around the cafe, seeking support. You all saw that, right? This psycho just attacked me for no reason. The college student spoke up, her voice shaky but clear. You grabbed him first. I was being friendly. Victor spun toward her. He's the one who got violent. You spilled coffee on him on purpose, she continued, gaining confidence. We all saw it. Victor's jaw worked, his face getting redder. You don't know what you're talking about. Mind your own business, kid. Leave her alone. Logan's voice had dropped even lower, and somehow that made it more commanding. Your problem is with me, not her. Oh, now you want to be tough? Victor turned back to Logan, spreading his arms wide. Now you want to be the hero, protecting the innocent college girl from the mean businessman? He started walking toward Logan, slow and deliberate. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to apologize. To me. To everyone here for disrupting their nice, quiet morning with your tough guy bullshit. And then you're going to leave and not come back. Logan didn't move. Didn't respond. I'm sorry. Did you not hear me? Victor was close now, almost chest to chest. I said apologize. Or are you too stupid to understand simple, I heard you? Logan's eyes never left Victor's face. No. The word hung in the air like a physical thing. Victor's nostrils flared. What did you just say to me? I said no. I'm not apologizing. I'm not leaving. You don't get to walk in here, treat people like garbage, assault someone, and then demand apologies. Logan's voice remained level, but there was steel underneath now. That's not how this works. You want to tell me how this works? Victor's face was inches from Logan's now. You want to educate me, is that it? You think you're better than me? Smarter? Tougher? I think you should walk away while you still can. While I still... Victor barked out a laugh. Is that a threat? Are you threatening me? It's advice. Logan took a deliberate step back, creating space. This doesn't have to go anywhere. You can leave. I can leave. Everyone goes home intact. But see, I don't want everyone to go home intact. Victor rolled his shoulders, loosened his neck. I want you to learn a lesson about respect, about knowing your place. Maria's voice called out from behind the counter. I'm calling the police. Good! Victor shouted back without taking his eyes off Logan. Call them. They'll see who started this. Logan's mind was racing now, running calculations. The nearest exit was 15 feet behind him. The front door was closer, but would require going through Victor. The kitchen exit was an option, but would mean turning his back. His phone was in his pocket. He could call 911 himself, but that would require taking his eyes off Victor. And something told him that would be a mistake. He'd seen that look before. in hostile villages, in interrogation rooms, in the eyes of men who'd decided violence was the only language they understood. Victor had made his decision. The only question was when.
Last chance, Logan said quietly. Walk away. Make me. The challenge hung between them. The entire cafe seemed to freeze, caught in the moment before impact, before the collision everyone could sense coming, but no one could prevent. Logan felt something settle in his chest. Not anger, not even resignation. Just acknowledgement. He'd tried. He'd done everything right, stayed calm, created space, offered multiple exits.
But sometimes, despite everything you do, despite all your training and discipline and careful choice, sometimes violence finds you anyway. And when it does, you have two choices. Be a victim or be ready. Logan had stopped being a victim a long time ago. Okay, he said softly. Have it your way. Victor's eyes widened slightly, surprised by the response. He'd expected more protest, more posturing. Instead, he got acceptance. It threw him off balance for just a second. A second was all Logan needed to adjust his stance, weight settling slightly back on his heels, hands coming up in a neutral position that could be either defensive or... Victor swung. It was a wide, looping right hook, the kind thrown by someone who'd maybe taken a few boxing classes at an expensive gym, but never actually been in a real fight. Telegraphed from a mile away, more momentum than technique, the kind of punch that looked devastating in movies but was fundamentally flawed in practice. Logan didn't block it, didn't need to. He simply shifted his weight, turned his body, and let the fist sail past his head close enough to feel the air displacement. Victor's momentum carried him forward, off balance. Logan could have ended it right there, a simple palm strike to the exposed ribs, a knee to the midsection, a dozen different techniques that would have dropped Victor instantly. But he didn't, not yet, because ending fights wasn't the same as winning them. Logan had learned that difference over 15 years of close-quarters combat across 3 continents. A quick victory sometimes created more problems than it solved. Witnesses remembered the outcome, not the context. Cameras captured the moment of impact, not the escalation before. So instead of striking, Logan simply stepped aside and let Victor stumble past him into the space he'd occupied seconds before. "Stop," Logan said, his voice carrying clearly through the silent cafe. "You don't want to do this." Victor spun around, his face contorted with rage and embarrassment. Being made to miss in front of an audience was worse than being hit. It exposed incompetence, revealed the gap between self-image and reality. "You think you're so fucking clever?" Victor's voice cracked slightly. "Think you're some kind of martial arts master? I think you're going to get hurt if you keep this up." "By you?" Victor laughed, but it sounded hollow. "You haven't done shit. You're just running away." He came again, faster this time, throwing a combination, jab, cross, another hook. More technique now, but still wild, still emotional, still readable. Logan moved through the attacks like water around stones. Minimal movement, maximum efficiency. Slip left, duck right, step back. Each motion just enough to make Victor's fists find empty air instead of target. And each miss made Victor angrier, sloppier, more desperate. "Stand still!" Victor roared, throwing another wide punch. This time Logan caught the extended arm, used Victor's own momentum against him, and guided him into one of the empty tables. Not hard, just enough to stop his forward motion and put a physical barrier between them. Victor crashed against the table, caught himself with both hands. Breathing hard now, sweating, reality starting to creep into his adrenaline-fueled rage. "This is your last warning," Logan said, his voice still maddeningly calm. "Stop now. Police are coming. You can still walk away from this without..." Victor grabbed the table and flipped it. The move surprised Logan, not because it was effective, but because it was stupid. The table crashed over, sending sugar packets and napkins flying, and Victor charged forward with something between a roar and a scream. Pure, unthinking aggression. No technique, no strategy. Just a man who'd never been truly denied anything deciding that volume and violence were the same as victory. Logan's training took over, muscle memory from thousands of hours of practice activating before conscious thought could interfere. He met Victor's charge at an angle, deflecting the momentum rather than opposing it directly. Grabbed Victor's leading arm, controlled the wrist, stepped in close. drove his shoulder into Victor's chest while simultaneously sweeping his leg. The takedown was textbook, clean, controlled, inevitable. Victor hit the floor hard, the impact driving the air from his lungs with an audible whoosh. Before he could recover, Logan had his arm extended and locked, pressure on the elbow joint just shy of dislocation, one knee pressed against Victor's back, the other leg braced for stability. It had taken less than 3 seconds. The cafe was absolutely silent. Even the radio had stopped somehow. Or maybe Logan just couldn't hear it over the sound of Victor's labored breathing and his own controlled heartbeat. "Don't move," Logan said quietly, directly into Victor's ear. "If you move, I'll have to apply more pressure. If I apply more pressure, your elbow dislocates. You don't want that." Victor tried to struggle, pure instinct. Logan applied the slightest additional pressure, barely a fraction of an inch, and Victor gasped, his body going rigid as pain receptors screamed warnings. "I said, don't move. Get off me." Victor's voice was strained, tight with pain and outrage and disbelief. "You're breaking my arm." "I'm not, but I can. That's the point." Logan's voice remained level, almost gentle. "Here's what happens next. Police arrive. You tell them you attacked me. I defended myself. These people confirm it. You go home with a bruised ego and a sore arm. Or you keep fighting. I actually hurt you, and you go home in an ambulance. Your choice." "Fuck you. You can't. You don't know who I am. I'll sue you for everything you—" Logan increased the pressure slightly. Not much. Just enough. Victor's threat dissolved into a sharp cry of pain. "Wrong answer," Logan said quietly. "Try again." For a long moment, Victor didn't respond. Logan could feel the tension in his body, the war between ego and self-preservation happening in real time. Could sense the exact moment when survival instinct won. "Okay," Victor gasped. "Okay. Jesus Christ, okay." Logan held the position for 3 more seconds, long enough to make sure Victor wasn't faking surrender, then smoothly released the lock and stood up in one fluid motion, creating immediate distance between them. Victor rolled onto his side, cradling his arm, breathing hard. His expensive suit was rumpled and dirty. His carefully styled hair had fallen across his forehead. All the bravado, all the aggressive confidence had drained away, leaving behind something raw and shaken. Logan stood over him, not threateningly, just there, ready, waiting to see if the lesson had taken or if Victor's pride would demand another round. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. "You're insane," Victor managed, his voice barely above a whisper. "You could have killed me. If I wanted you dead, you'd be dead." Logan said it as simple fact, no boasting, no threat, just truth. "I wanted you stopped. There's a difference." The sirens grew louder. 30 seconds out, maybe less. Logan looked around the cafe at the dozen witnesses who'd seen everything, made eye contact with Maria, gave her a small nod. She nodded back, understanding passing between them without words. Then he looked at the college student who'd spoken up earlier. "Thank you for being honest." She managed a shaky smile. "You were just defending yourself." "Yeah," Logan said quietly. "I was." 2 police cruisers pulled up outside, lights flashing through the cafe windows. Car doors opened. Heavy footsteps approached. Logan raised his hand slowly, palms open, non-threatening. Old habit from countries where approaching police with your hands at your sides could get you shot. The cafe door burst open and 2 officers entered, hands on their service weapons but not drawn. They took in the scene immediately. The overturned table, Victor on the floor, Logan standing with his hands up, the watching crowd. "Police, nobody move." The first officer was young, maybe late 20s, with the tense energy of someone expecting trouble. His partner was older, probably close to 50, with the calm demeanor of someone who'd seen this script play out too many times to get excited about it. His eyes moved from Victor to Logan and back, reading the situation. "He attacked me." Victor struggled to his feet, still cradling his arm. "That psycho just attacked me out of nowhere. I want him arrested." The younger officer moved toward Logan. "Sir, keep your hands where I can see them." "They're up," Logan said calmly. "Not going anywhere." The older officer, his name tag read Morrison, approached Victor. "Are you injured, sir?" "My arm. He tried to break my arm." Victor thrust out the limb for inspection. I want to press charges, assault and battery. Morrison examined the arm with practiced eyes. Can you move it? Victor rotated it gingerly. No visible damage, no obvious swelling. He winced, but Logan suspected that was more for show than actual pain. Hurts like hell, Victor said. That maniac could have crippled me. But he didn't. Morrison's voice was neutral. Anyone else injured? Silence from the cafe. Good. Morrison turned to his partner. Jenkins, get statements from witnesses. I'll talk to these two. While Jenkins started interviewing the other customers, Morrison gestured Logan and Victor to separate corners of the cafe. He spoke to Victor first, listening to an increasingly animated recounting that bore only passing resemblance to what had actually happened. Logan watched, saying nothing, his hand still raised in a non-threatening position, even though no one was actively watching him anymore. He could hear fragments of Victor's story: provocation, unprovoked attack, excessive force, lawsuit, civil rights violation. Morrison's expression never changed. He took notes, asked clarifying questions, let Victor talk himself into increasingly elaborate versions of events. After 10 minutes, Morrison came over to Logan. You can put your hands down, sir. Logan lowered them slowly. Thank you, officer. Want to tell me your side? Logan recounted the events in simple, factual terms. No embellishment, no justification, just what happened in sequence, leaving out nothing. Morrison listened, made notes. You military? It wasn't really a question. Something in Logan's bearing, his terminology, the way he described the physical altercation in clinical detail had given it away. Army, 15 years, discharged 8 months ago. What did you do in the Army? Special forces, infantry, close protection, various other things. Logan kept his voice neutral. I'm a civilian now. Uh-huh. Morrison studied him. That why you knew exactly how to take him down without actually hurting him? I wanted him stopped, not injured. There's a difference. Most people don't know the difference. Most people haven't spent 15 years learning it. Morrison almost smiled. Almost. Wait here. He went to confer with Jenkins, who'd finished taking statements from the witnesses. They spoke in low voices, comparing notes. Logan couldn't hear the words, but he could read body language well enough to know how this was going. After a few minutes, Morrison returned. Here's the situation, he said. We've got 11 witnesses. 10 of them say Mr. Kane initiated physical contact after spilling coffee on you. They say he threw the first punch. They say you defended yourself with what appears to be, in the words of one witness, way more restraint than he deserved. Victor, who'd been listening from across the cafe, exploded. That's bullshit. They're lying. They're protecting him because, sir, I'm going to need you to calm down. Morrison's voice didn't rise, but it carried an edge of authority that cut through Victor's outburst. You want to press charges against Mr. Reed for assault? Yes, absolutely. Then you should know that based on witness testimony, I'd be charging you as well. Assault, destruction of property, disturbing the peace. And since you initiated contact and threw the first punch, your case for self-defense is pretty much non-existent. Victor's mouth worked soundlessly. Now, Morrison continued, Mr. Reed here says he doesn't want to press charges. Says he just wants this over with so he can go home. So here's my recommendation. You both walk away. You get your arm checked out if you want. He gets to finish his morning. We all pretend this never happened. I'm not, Victor sputtered. Do you have any idea who I am? I know the mayor. I know the district attorney. I will make sure. Make sure what? Morrison's expression remained placid. That you get arrested for assault in front of a dozen witnesses? That your name ends up in the police report when it really doesn't have to? Because I'm giving you an out here, Mr. Kane. I'm giving you a chance to walk away from something stupid with nothing more than a bruised ego and a story you'll probably tell very differently at parties. The fight drained out of Victor like air from a punctured tire. He looked around the cafe, saw the expressions on the witnesses' faces, not sympathy, not support, just tired frustration with someone who'd disrupted their morning for no good reason. This isn't over, he muttered, but the words had no weight. I'm leaving, but this isn't over. Have a good day, sir. Morrison's tone made it clear the conversation was finished. Victor grabbed his coat. When had that fallen off? and stalked toward the door. He paused at the threshold, looked back at Logan one last time. Whatever he saw in Logan's eyes made him reconsider whatever he'd been about to say. He left without another word. The bell above the door chimed cheerfully. Morrison turned to Logan. "You got ID?" Logan pulled out his wallet, handed over his driver's license. Morrison examined it, made a note of the information. "You live at this address?" "Yeah. Moved there about 8 months ago, when I got out." "You got family? Someone who can verify you're not a public menace?" "My daughter. Ava. She's 12. Logan paused. "She's why I'm here. Why I moved back to this area. I'm all she's got." Something shifted in Morrison's expression. "Where's her mother?" "Dead. 4 years ago. Car accident." Logan's voice was flat, practiced. "I was deployed. Got emergency leave for the funeral. Ava went to stay with my parents until I could figure out everything." Morrison was quiet for a moment. "That why you got out? To take care of her?" "That's why I got out. That's why I came here. That's why—" Logan gestured at the overturned table, the spilled coffee. "That's why I tried so hard not to let this happen. Because she needs me stable, present, not in jail for putting some asshole through a window." Morrison nodded slowly. "For what it's worth. You showed remarkable restraint. Most guys with your training would have put him down hard and fast. You gave him multiple chances to walk away. I learned a long time ago that winning a fight doesn't mean much if you lose everything else in the process." "Good lesson." Morrison handed back Logan's license. "You're free to go. Try to stay out of trouble." "Always the plan." Morrison started to leave, then paused. "Hey, that thing you did, the arm lock, clean work." "Thanks. My nephew's thinking about enlisting. Special forces, maybe. Any advice?" Logan considered the question, thought about 15 years of deployments and firefights and missions that didn't exist in official records, thought about the friends he'd lost, the pieces of himself he'd left behind in a dozen countries. Tell him to make sure it's what he really wants, not what sounds cool, not what looks good. What he actually wants. Because once you start down that path, it changes you, forever. And you can't always change back. Morrison studied him. "You regret it?" "No. But I understand the cost now. That's different." "Fair enough." Morrison nodded. "Take care of yourself. And your daughter. Every day." The police left. Jenkins gave Maria a business card in case she needed to file a report. Morrison made sure the witnesses knew they might be contacted for official statements. And then it was just the cafe again, slowly returning to normal. Logan helped Maria right the overturned table, picked up the scattered sugar packets and napkins. Refused her offer of a replacement coffee. "I should probably get going," he said quietly. "Logan, I'm so sorry. If I'd known he was going to, not your fault. Some people just wake up looking for fights." He managed a small smile. "Thanks for calling the police. You were defending yourself. Everyone saw." "I know, but still, thank you." He left a $20 bill on the counter, more than enough to cover the coffee, the muffin, and the trouble. The college student caught his attention as he headed for the door. That was really something. Wasn't trying to impress anyone." "I know, that's what made it impressive." She paused. "My brother's in the army, infantry, deployed right now. When he gets back, I hope he can be like you, controlled, not letting it define him." Logan thought about that, about how 15 years of violence had shaped him, changed him, made him someone his 12-year-old self wouldn't recognize, about how he fought every day to be someone his daughter could be proud of, not afraid of. "Tell your brother to find something worth coming home to," he said finally. "Makes all the difference." She smiled. "I will." Logan left the Bluebird Café at 8:15, exactly 1 hour after he'd arrived. His jeans were still damp with coffee. His hands were steady. His heartbeat was normal. He walked to his truck, a beat-up Ford that had seen better days, and sat in the driver's seat without starting the engine. Took 3 deep breaths. Let the adrenaline finish draining from his system. His phone buzzed, text message. From Ava. "Don't forget parent-teacher conference is Tuesday, and I need lunch money." Logan smiled, typed back. "Already on the calendar. I'll drop off cash tomorrow. How's school?" "Boring. Can we get pizza tonight?" "Sure. Your homework done?" Dad, it's Wednesday morning. I have all day. That's not a yes. Fine, I'll do it after school. Jeez. Logan chuckled, put the phone down, started the engine, pulled out of the parking lot. 15 minutes later, he was home, a small rental house on the edge of town. Nothing fancy, but clean and safe. 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen that worked, a yard where Ava could play when she still thought playing in yards was cool. He changed his jeans, threw the coffee-stained pair in the laundry, made himself another cup of coffee. The morning's interrupted routine nagging at him. His phone rang. Unknown number. Logan almost didn't answer, but old habits. Yeah? Mr. Reed? Male voice, professional. This is Detective Sarah Chen with the police department. I'm calling about the incident at the Bluebird Café this morning. Logan's hand tightened on the phone. Officer Morrison said I was free to go. You are. This isn't about pressing charges. I just had a few follow-up questions. A pause. Would you be willing to come down to the station? Shouldn't take more than an hour. Every instinct Logan had screamed caution, but refusing would look suspicious, would create problems he didn't need. When? This afternoon. Say, 2 o'clock? Logan checked his watch. That gave him enough time to pick up Ava from school, drop her at his parents' place, and make it to the station. I can do that. Excellent. Ask for me at the front desk. And Mr. Reed, this is purely voluntary. You're not under investigation. Understood. He hung up, stared at the phone. This was supposed to be over. Victor had walked away. Morrison had let it go. The witnesses had confirmed self-defense. So why was a detective calling? Logan set down his coffee, untasted, looked around his small, modest home, thought about Ava, about the life he was trying to build, about all the promises he'd made to himself and to her. He'd left the violence behind, the missions, the objectives, the constant edge of survival existence. But maybe, just maybe, the violence hadn't left him. He had 5 hours until the meeting at the police station, 5 hours to figure out what the hell he'd just stepped into, and whether his carefully constructed civilian life was about to come crashing down around him. Logan Reed took a slow breath, felt the weight of old instincts stirring. He thought he was done with this world. Turned out the world wasn't quite done with him. The Riverside Middle School released students at 3:15, same as it had for the past 40 years. Logan sat in his truck across the street, engine off, watching the flood of kids pour through the double doors like water breaking through a dam. Backpacks, laughter, the peculiar chaos of 12 and 13-year-olds suddenly freed from structured learning. He spotted Ava third in line from her homeroom, dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, wearing the jean jacket he'd bought her last month that she claimed made her look less like a kid. She was talking animatedly with 2 other girls, hands gesturing as she told some story he'd never hear, because by the time she got in the truck, she'd claimed nothing interesting happened at school. She saw his truck, said something to her friends, and headed over. Her walk was different lately, not quite the carefree skip of childhood, but not yet the self-conscious stride of teenagerhood. Somewhere in between, same as everything else about her these days. Hey, Dad. She climbed into the passenger seat, threw her backpack into the back. Why are you parked all weird over here? Didn't want to block the pickup lane. Nobody cares about the pickup lane. She buckled her seatbelt, then looked at him more carefully. You okay? You look tense. Logan started the engine, pulled into traffic. Long morning. How was school? You're changing the subject. I asked you first. Ava rolled her eyes, but there was affection in it. It was school. We had a pop quiz in math that I definitely failed. Jordan got in trouble for passing notes during science, and the cafeteria served something they claimed was chicken, but I have my doubts. So a normal Wednesday. Pretty much. She fiddled with the radio, found a station playing something with too much bass and incomprehensible lyrics. Can we still get pizza tonight? Logan hesitated. The meeting with Detective Chen was at 2. Should be done by 4, maybe 4:30 if it ran long. Pick up pizza on the way home, they could eat by 5 if it went according to plan. If it didn't. Yeah, he said, but I need to drop you at Grandma and Grandpa's for a bit first. Got a meeting. Ava's expression shifted, became guarded. What kind of meeting? Nothing bad, just something I need to handle. Dad? Her voice took on that tone. The one that said she was 12 going on 30, The one that reminded him she'd lost her mother at 8 and learned too young that adults saying nothing bad didn't always mean nothing bad. What kind of meeting? Logan's hands tightened on the steering wheel. He'd promised himself, promised her, no more secrets, no more deployments where he left without explanation and came back different. Honesty, even when it was hard. Especially when it was hard. There was an incident this morning at the cafe. She sat up straighter. What kind of incident? A guy started trouble. I handled it. Police came. Everything got sorted out. He kept his voice level, casual. Detective wants to ask me some follow-up questions. Routine. Did you get in a fight? The directness of the question caught him off guard. Ava had his eyes, his ability to cut through bullshit and land on the truth. He started it. I finished it. Nobody got seriously hurt. But the police came. Because someone called them, which was the right thing to do. Ava was quiet for a long moment, staring out the window at the passing streets. Are you in trouble? No. Are you lying to make me feel better? Logan glanced at her, saw genuine worry in her young face, and felt something twist in his chest. This was the cost nobody told you about when they handed you the uniform. Not just what it did to you, but what it did to the people who loved you. The constant low-level anxiety. The inability to fully trust that fine meant fine. I'm not lying, he said quietly. I defended myself. There were witnesses. The other guy started the physical contact. Detective Chen just wants to make sure all the details are documented properly. Then why can't I come with you? Because you're 12 and police stations are boring. I've been in police stations before. True. Military police stations overseas when they'd lived on base during his brief stint at Fort Bragg between deployments. She'd been younger then, thought the MPs were cool, like the German Shepherd that worked detection. Civilian ones are worse, trust me. He reached over, squeezed her shoulder briefly. 2 hours tops. Then pizza, and we can watch whatever terrible reality show you're currently obsessed with. I'm not obsessed. I just enjoy watching people make bad decisions in a controlled environment. That's literally what obsession sounds like. She almost smiled. Almost. Fine. But if you're not back by 5, I'm calling you every 10 minutes. Deal. He dropped her at his parents' house, a modest 2-story in a quiet neighborhood where the lawns were well kept and the neighbors still knew each other's names. His mother met them at the door, her face lighting up when she saw Ava. There's my girl. I made cookies. Grandma, I'm not 6 anymore. Nobody's too old for cookies. His mother looked at Logan over Ava's head, a question in her eyes. Got a meeting, Logan said, keeping his voice neutral. Back by 5. His mother's expression tightened almost imperceptibly. She knew. Not the details, but enough. She'd raised 2 sons who'd both served, buried too many of their friends at military funerals, spent too many years waiting for phone calls that might bring terrible news. We'll be fine, she said. Take your time. Logan kissed Ava's forehead. She tolerated it, barely, and headed back to his truck. The police station was a squat brick building downtown, the kind of architecture that prioritized function over form. Logan parked in the visitor lot, sat for a moment gathering himself. He'd been in hundreds of briefings, debriefings, interrogations, had sat across from intelligence officers and hostile witnesses and people who genuinely wanted him dead. This should be easy. Routine. So why did his gut say otherwise? He checked his phone. 1:58, right on time. Inside, the station smelled like industrial cleaner and old coffee. The front desk was manned by a uniformed officer who looked barely old enough to drive, let alone carry a badge. Help you? Logan Reed, here to see Detective Chen, 2 o'clock appointment. The officer checked a computer, nodded. Have a seat. She'll be right out. The waiting area had plastic chairs bolted to the floor and outdated magazines nobody ever read. Logan chose a seat with a view of both the entrance and the hallway leading deeper into the station. Couldn't help himself. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. At 2:15, a woman emerged from the hallway. Mid-30s, Asian features, professional pantsuit, hair pulled back in a no-nonsense bun. She moved with the careful economy of someone who spent a lot of time in environments where every gesture mattered. Mr. Reed, she extended her hand. Detective Sarah Chen, thanks for coming in. Her grip was firm, businesslike. Logan returned it with equal pressure, not trying to dominate, but not backing down either. Not a problem. Follow me. She led him through a maze of hallways, past offices and break rooms and other detectives working cases. The station was busier than Logan had expected for a Wednesday afternoon. Phones ringing, keyboards clattering, conversations happening in low, urgent voices. Chen's office was small but organized. Desk, computer, filing cabinet, 2 chairs. Photos on the wall. Her in uniform, younger, with what looked like academy classmates. A commendation certificate. A picture of a golden retriever. Have a seat. She closed the door, moved behind her desk. Can I get you anything? Coffee? Water? I'm good. Chen settled into her chair, pulled up something on her computer. So, the incident at the Bluebird Café this morning. Officer Morrison said I was free to go, that it was settled. It is. You're not under investigation. She looked at him directly. But when a former Special Forces operator takes down a civilian in a public place, even in self-defense, we like to make sure we understand the full context. Logan's expression didn't change. How'd you know Special Forces? Your DD-214 is on file, standard background check. She leaned back in her chair. 15 years, 3 combat deployments, 2 Silver Stars, Purple Heart. You've been busy. I did my job. You did it well by all accounts. Chen pulled up another file. After you left this morning, I did some digging. Victor Kane, 42, CEO of Kane Development Corporation. Real estate mostly, commercial properties. Worth about $30 million. Congratulations to him. He's also got a history, bar fights, altercations at business meetings, a domestic disturbance call 3 years ago that didn't result in charges. The man has anger issues. Not my problem. It became your problem when he chose you as his target. Chen closed the file. Here's what I'm trying to figure out, Mr. Reed. Victor Kane walks into that cafe looking for trouble. There were 12 other people there. Why you? Logan had been asking himself the same question. Bad luck? I don't think so. Chen studied him. You sit in the back corner, alone. You watch the room but don't engage. You're physically fit, but not obviously so. No gym muscles, just functional strength. You're quiet, reserved, almost deliberately unremarkable. She paused. Victor Kane is a bully, and bullies have a type. They target people who look like they won't fight back, but who also won't completely fold. They want just enough resistance to feel dominant, but not enough to actually be dangerous. Logan said nothing. Except you were dangerous. Way more dangerous than he realized, and by the time he figured it out, he was face down on the floor with a dislocated elbow in his immediate future. Chen leaned forward slightly. My question is, did you know? When he first approached you, did you know how it was going to end? The question hung in the air between them. Logan thought about the cafe, Victor's approach, the calculations running through his head, threat assessment, exit strategies, escalation probabilities. He'd known, maybe not the specifics, but the shape of it, the outcome. I hoped he'd walk away, Logan said finally. Gave him every chance. But you knew he wouldn't. I suspected. And you stayed anyway. Didn't leave, didn't call for help, didn't try to defuse before it got physical. I tried to defuse, he wasn't interested. Chen nodded slowly. Fair enough. Here's the thing, Mr. Reed. I'm not trying to jam you up. Morrison's report is clear. Self-defense. Multiple witnesses confirm it. Victor Kane's lucky you showed restraint instead of putting him through a window. Then why am I here? Because an hour after the incident, Victor Kane called his lawyer. The lawyer called the chief. The chief called me. She pulled up another file. Kane wants to press charges, claims you assaulted him without provocation, says the witnesses are lying because they're your friends. Logan's jaw tightened. They're not my friends. I know Maria, the owner. That's it. I know, but Kane's lawyer is good, expensive, the kind who knows how to make problems for people. Chen's expression was neutral, professional. They're threatening a civil suit, excessive force, emotional distress, the whole package. For a guy who threw the first punch. Doesn't matter. You've got military training. A jury might see that as making you the aggressor regardless of who initiated contact. She paused. Especially if Kane's lawyer paints you as a damaged veteran with PTSD who overreacted to a simple disagreement. Logan felt something cold settle in his stomach. Is that what you think? That I'm damaged? I think you spent 15 years in situations where violence was the solution. I think transitioning back to civilian life is hard for everyone, but especially for guys with your background. Chen's voice softened slightly. I also think you showed remarkable control this morning, but a jury might not see it that way. So what do you want from me? I want to understand what happened, all of it, every detail. Because if this goes to court, I need to be able to defend the decision not to charge you. Logan looked at her for a long moment. Tried to read whether this was genuine concern or a tactic. Decided it didn't matter. He needed to give her something either way. Victor Kane walked into the cafe at 7:32. He was aggressive from the start. Insulted Maria, then chose my table even though there were multiple empty ones. He sat down without asking, made it clear he was looking for confrontation. For the next 20 minutes, Logan walked through every moment. What was said, who moved first, how he'd tried to create distance and de-escalate. The coffee spill, definitely deliberate. The first punch, wild and unskilled. His own responses, measured, controlled, designed to stop, not injure. Chen took notes, asked clarifying questions, occasionally checked details against Morrison's report. The arm lock, she said. That's what Kane is focusing on. Says you were trying to break his arm. If I was trying to break it, it would be broken. I was controlling him. There's a difference. Explain. Logan leaned forward slightly. Joint locks work on pain compliance. You apply pressure to a joint in a direction it's not meant to move. The pain forces the person to stop resisting. But you can calibrate exactly how much pressure, just enough to control or enough to damage. I used control pressure. If I'd wanted damage, I would have hyperextended the joint. I didn't. Could you have? Yes. Why didn't you? Logan thought about Ava, about his promise to leave violence behind, about the difference between who he'd been and who he was trying to become. Because breaking someone's arm means ambulances, hospital reports, potential permanent injury. It means escalation. And because, he paused, because I have a daughter who needs me to make good decisions. And good decisions aren't always the same as effective ones. Chen was quiet for a moment. Your daughter, Ava, right? 12 years old. Yes. Her mother passed 4 years ago? Logan's expression hardened. That's in my file too? It's relevant context. You're a single father, sole guardian. That changes the calculus. It changes everything. Logan's voice was flat. If I'd hurt Victor Kane badly enough for him to press charges that stuck, if I'd ended up in jail, Ava would go into the system or back to my parents. She's already lost her mother. I won't let her lose me, too. Then why engage at all? Why not just leave when he started trouble? I tried. He grabbed my shoulder, made it physical. Logan met her eyes. I spent 15 years being told when to fight, where to fight, who to fight. Now I get to choose. And I choose not to run from bullies. But I also choose not to be the kind of man who solves everything with violence. Chen studied him for a long moment. You know what I think, Mr. Reed? I think you're walking a very narrow line between who you were and who you want to be. And I think this morning you stayed on the right side of it. Barely. Barely still counts. It does. She closed her laptop. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to document this conversation. I'm going to note that you were cooperative, forthcoming, and showed clear understanding of appropriate force. When Kane's lawyer comes at us, and they will, I'm going to make sure the chief knows you did everything right. And if that's not enough, then you'll need a lawyer of your own. But honestly, I don't think it'll come to that. Kane's story has more holes than Swiss cheese, and his history of similar incidents doesn't help his credibility. She stood up. But if I were you, I'd avoid the Bluebird Café for a while. Let this cool down. Logan stood as well. That cafe is part of my routine, part of my daughter's routine. I'm not changing my life because some asshole couldn't control himself. Stubborn. Consistent. Chen almost smiled. Fair enough. Just be careful. Guys like Kane don't like losing, especially not in public. I'll keep that in mind. She walked him back to the lobby, shook his hand again at the door. For what it's worth. Thank you for your service, and for not turning that cafe into a crime scene. Logan nodded, headed for his truck. It was 3:45. He had time to get pizza before picking up Ava. Traffic was light, and he made it to Dominic's Pizzeria, their usual spot, by 4. The smell hit him as soon as he walked in. Garlic, oregano, fresh dough. Dominic himself was behind the counter, 60-something and perpetually covered in flour. "Logan, the usual? Large pepperoni, extra cheese." "You got it. 20 minutes." Logan paid, took a seat by the window, pulled out his phone. No messages from Ava, which meant either she was fine or she'd found the cookie stash and fallen into a sugar coma. He opened his email, scrolled through the usual junk. Bill reminders. Spam, a message from the Veterans Affairs Office about benefits he'd never use, and one from an address he didn't recognize. Subject line, regarding this morning. Logan's thumb hovered over it. Could be spam. Could be Kane's lawyer. Could be... He opened it. The message was short. "Mr. Reed, you don't know me, but I was in the cafe this morning, the college student. I wanted to say thank you, not just for standing up to that asshole, but for how you did it. My brother's in Afghanistan right now, infantry. I worry about what he'll be like when he gets back, whether he'll be able to adjust, to be normal again. Watching you this morning gave me hope. Anyway, just wanted to say thanks. And if you need someone to testify about what really happened, I'm here. My number's below." Jessica Tran. Logan read it twice, saved the contact information, typed a response. "Thank you. That means more than you know. Tell your brother to stay safe. And when he gets back, tell him it gets easier. Not easy, but easier." He hit send, pocketed his phone. The pizza was ready at 4:15. Logan loaded it in the truck, drove to his parents' house. Ava burst out the front door before he even parked. "You're late. You said 5. It's 4:20. I thought something happened." Logan climbed out of the truck, pulled her into a hug she pretended to resist. "I'm fine. Everything's fine. Got pizza." She pulled back, studied his face the way only kids who'd learned to read adults for signs of danger could. "Did the detective give you trouble?" "No trouble. Just questions. All sorted." His mother appeared in the doorway, arms crossed. "Everything okay?" "Yeah, Ma, just routine follow-up." She didn't look convinced, but she nodded. "Ava, grab your backpack." "Already in the truck. I put it there when I heard Dad pull up." They said their goodbyes, Logan promising to call if anything changed. His mother squeezed his arm, gave him that look that said they'd be talking about this later, probably at Sunday dinner when he couldn't escape. In the truck, Ava immediately grabbed a slice of pizza from the box. "Can we eat while you drive?" "I'm starving." "You were at Grandma's. There's no way you're starving." "She made me eat vegetables. That doesn't count." Logan smiled despite himself, pulled out of the driveway. "Fine. But if you get sauce on my seats, I know. I'm cleaning it myself." They ate in comfortable silence for a few minutes, the radio playing something soft and forgettable. The sun was starting to sink, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. "Dad?" Ava's voice was quiet. "Yeah?" "The guy at the cafe, the one who started trouble. Did he hurt you?" Logan glanced at her. "No, he tried. Didn't succeed." "Were you scared?" The question surprised him. "No." "Why not?" Logan thought about how to answer that. About 15 years of conditioning, of training that rewired fear into tactical response. About the difference between being afraid and recognizing danger. "I was ready," he said finally. "There's a difference between fear and awareness. I was aware of the threat. I assessed it, and I knew I could handle it if I needed to." "But what if you couldn't? What if he'd been, I don't know, bigger or stronger or had a weapon? Then I would have adapted, used different tactics, created distance, waited for police." He paused. "Fear is useful when it makes you careful. It's only a problem when it makes you freeze." Ava was quiet for a moment. "I get scared sometimes. When you're late, or when you don't answer your phone right away. I think about Mom, about how fast things can change." Logan's chest tightened. "I know. Do you get scared? About me?" "Every day." "Really?" "Really. You're the most important thing in my life, Ava, the only thing that really matters. So yeah, I get scared. That something will happen to you, that I'll mess up being a dad, that..." He stopped himself. "That what?" Logan pulled into their driveway, put the truck in park. looked at his daughter, so young but already too aware of how fragile everything was. "That I won't be enough," he said quietly. "That after everything I've done, everywhere I've been, I still won't be able to give you the life you deserve." Ava unbuckled her seatbelt, scooted across the bench seat, and hugged him. Really hugged him, the way she used to when she was little and hadn't yet learned that 12-year-olds weren't supposed to need their parents that much. "You're enough," she whispered. "You're here. That's enough." Logan held her, felt something crack in the careful armor he'd built around himself, blinked back the sudden burning in his eyes. "Come on," he said after a moment. "Pizza's getting cold." They went inside, ate dinner at the small kitchen table. Ava told him about the pop quiz she definitely failed and the drama with Jordan passing notes. Logan listened, asked questions, tried to care about middle school politics the way a good dad should. After dinner, Ava disappeared to do homework, or more likely text her friends while pretending to do homework. Logan cleaned up, loaded the dishwasher, wiped down the counters. His phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. "This is Victor Kane. I know you think you won today. You didn't. I'm going to destroy you. Your life, your reputation, everything. You fucked with the wrong person." Logan stared at the message for a long moment, thought about responding, about explaining that threats via text were evidence, that he had a record of self-defense backed by a dozen witnesses. Instead, he took a screenshot, forwarded it to Detective Chen with a simple message. "Received this 10 minutes ago." Her response came back almost immediately. "Document everything. Don't engage. I'll handle it." Logan deleted the original message, blocked the number, poured himself a glass of water, and stood at the sink, looking out the window at the darkening street. He'd done everything right, defended himself appropriately, showed restraint, had witnesses and police reports and the truth on his side. But Victor Kane had money, and lawyers, and the kind of vindictive rage that didn't care about truth. And Logan had a daughter who needed him stable, present, not fighting legal battles with rich assholes who couldn't let things go. Upstairs, he could hear Ava's music playing softly through her closed door. Normal sounds. Safe sounds. Logan took a slow breath, let it out. He'd left one war behind. Looked like another one was just beginning. The next morning started the same as every Thursday for the past 8 months. Logan woke at 5:30, made coffee, checked the perimeter of the house out of habit, even though the biggest threat in their neighborhood was Mrs. Patterson's aggressive sprinkler system. By 6:15, he had Ava's lunch packed and her breakfast waiting. By 7, she stumbled downstairs, still half asleep, complaining that school shouldn't start before 9 and that humanity had evolved past needing this much morning. Normal. Routine. Exactly what Logan had built his new life around, except his phone had 17 missed calls. He'd silenced it overnight, a habit from deployments where sleep was precious and interruptions could mean life or death. Now he stared at the screen while Ava poured cereal, trying to make sense of the numbers. 3 from Detective Chen, 5 from numbers he didn't recognize, 2 from his brother, 7 from Maria at the cafe. "Dad, you okay?" Ava was watching him over her bowl. "Yeah, just a lot of messages." He opened Chen's voicemail first, listened with the phone pressed tight to his ear. "Mr. Reed, it's Detective Chen. Call me as soon as you get this. We have a situation." The second message was shorter. "Logan, call me. Now." The third was just background noise, like she'd pocket-dialed him. He tried calling back, straight to voicemail. "I need to make some calls," he told Ava. "Eat your breakfast." "What's wrong?" "Probably nothing. Just need to check something." He stepped into the living room, tried Chen again. Still voicemail. Tried Maria next. She answered on the first ring. "Logan, thank the stars. Are you okay?" "I'm fine." "What's going on?" "You haven't seen it? It's everywhere. The video, the news, everything." "Maria, slow down. What video?" "From yesterday. The cafe. Someone filmed the whole thing and posted it online. It's gone viral." Logan's stomach dropped. "What do you mean viral?" "I mean millions of views. The local news picked it up. Then the national outlets. They're calling it Former Soldier Defends Café from Aggressive Businessman, and Special Forces vet shows incredible restraint, and, Logan, there are reporters outside the cafe. They've been here since 6 a.m. He sat down heavily on the couch. "Which customer filmed it?" I don't know. Nobody I recognized. Must have been someone passing by the windows or, I don't know, Logan, but it's out there and they're making you into some kind of hero. I'm not a hero. I just wanted coffee. Try telling them that. They want interviews, statements, they're asking about your military service. Don't tell them anything. I haven't. But Logan, they're not going away. And Victor Kane's lawyer put out a statement saying you're a dangerous individual who assaulted his client. They're trying to control the narrative. Through the doorway, Logan could see Ava watching him, her cereal forgotten. He turned away, lowered his voice. What did the statement say exactly? That Kane is considering all legal options against you, that you have PTSD and shouldn't be around civilians, that this incident demonstrates why veterans need better mental health screening. Maria's voice shook with anger. It's complete garbage, Logan. Everyone who was there knows what really happened. Doesn't matter what they know if Kane's lawyer gets to the story first. So fight back. Tell your side. I can't. The moment I start talking to media, this becomes a circus, and I have Ava to think about. He heard Maria sigh. I understand, but Logan, this isn't going away on its own. After he hung up, Logan stood for a moment, thinking. Then he pulled up his browser and searched his own name. The results made his blood run cold. The video was everywhere. Someone had filmed through the cafe window with remarkably steady hands, capturing almost the entire confrontation. The angle was good, the audio clear enough to hear Victor's taunts and Logan's measured responses. You could see the coffee spill, Victor's punch, Logan's controlled takedown, and people were losing their minds over it. The top video had 8 million views and climbing. The comments section was a war zone. Half the people were praising Logan's restraint and discipline. The other half were calling him a trained killer who'd overreacted to a simple disagreement. News articles had sprouted like weeds. Local, regional, national. Even international outlets were picking it up. Veteran shows what real discipline looks like. Did this former soldier use excessive force? Special Forces training meets civilian confrontation. Where's the line? Someone had dug up his service record, or parts of it. His deployments were listed, his decorations mentioned. One article called him a highly decorated war hero, and another suggested he was potentially dangerous and unstable. And in the middle of it all was Victor Kane's statement, released through his lawyer's office at 11 p.m. the previous night. Logan read it 3 times, each time feeling his anger rise. Mr. Kane is deeply disturbed by yesterday's unprovoked attack. As a successful businessman and pillar of the community, he was simply trying to enjoy his morning coffee when he was assaulted by Logan Reed, a former military operative with extensive combat training. Mr. Kane attempted to defuse the situation peacefully, but Mr. Reed responded with overwhelming force, causing physical injury and severe emotional distress. We believe Mr. Reed may be suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder and poses a potential danger to the public. We are exploring all legal avenues to ensure justice is served and to prevent similar incidents in the future. Logan's hands clenched around his phone. Every word was a lie or a distortion, carefully crafted to paint him as the aggressor. And it was working. He could see it in the comments, in the way certain news outlets framed their coverage. The narrative was shifting. Dad? Ava's voice was small behind him. He turned. She was holding her phone, her face pale. Everyone at school is talking about it. They're texting me asking if you're really some kind of super soldier. Logan crossed to her, gently took her phone. The screen showed a group chat with her friends, messages flying past faster than he could read them. But he caught enough. Is your dad the guy from the video? OMG, that's so cool. My mom says he's dangerous. Did he really kill people overseas? He handed the phone back. I'm sorry. For what? For this. For dragging you into all of this. Ava looked at him with those eyes that were too knowing for 12. You didn't drag me anywhere. You defended yourself. That guy was a jerk. Doesn't matter. The story's out of control now. So tell people the truth. It's not that simple. Why not? She was getting frustrated now. You always tell me to stand up for myself, to not let people push me around. But now when it's you, you're just going to hide. Logan felt the words land like a physical blow. That's not fair. Isn't it? She grabbed her backpack. I need to go. School starts in 20 minutes. Ava, I'm fine, Dad. I can handle some questions. She headed for the door, then paused. But you need to figure out what you're going to do, because this isn't going away just because you want it to. The door closed behind her with more force than necessary. Logan stood in the sudden silence of his house, feeling the walls close in. He'd faced enemy combatants in hostile territory, lived through firefights and explosions and situations where one wrong move meant death. But this felt different, more invasive, more personal. His phone rang. Detective Chen. Finally, she said when he answered. Have you seen the news? Just caught up. Then you know we have a problem. Kane's lawyer is pushing hard. They filed a formal complaint this morning, demanding we charge you with assault. Based on what? There's video evidence showing he started it. There's also video evidence showing you putting him on the ground with a joint lock that, according to their medical expert, could have caused permanent injury. Their medical expert wasn't there. Doesn't matter. They're building a case that you used excessive force, that your military training made this an unfair fight, that you should have just left instead of engaging. Logan paced his living room. I tried to leave. He grabbed me. I know. I've seen the video probably 100 times now, but here's the thing. Public opinion is split, and the chief is getting pressure from the mayor's office. Kane's company is a major donor to several city projects. They've got pull. So what are you saying? I'm saying this might not go away as easily as I thought. The district attorney wants to review the case personally. Chen paused. You need a lawyer, Logan. A good one. I can't afford a good one. Then find one who will work pro bono. Because Kane's people are going to come at you hard, and you need someone in your corner who knows how to fight this kind of battle. After the call ended, Logan stood by his window, watching the street. A news van rolled by slowly, probably looking for his address. He stepped back from the glass. His phone buzzed. Text from his brother Mark. Dude, just saw the video. You okay? Logan typed back. Been better. Want me to come over? Not yet. Still figuring out what to do. Mom's freaking out. Says you need to come to dinner Sunday and explain everything. Great. Something to look forward to. Seriously, though, you need anything? I'm here. Logan appreciated that. Mark had done 6 years in the Marines, understood the weight of coming home, the difficulty of translation between military life and everything else. They didn't talk often, but when it mattered, Mark showed up. Thanks. I'll let you know. By 9 a.m., Logan had received 43 phone calls from reporters, news outlets, and people claiming to be documentary filmmakers. He'd ignored all of them. He'd also received a certified letter, hand-delivered by a process server who apologized while handing it over. Logan opened it at his kitchen table, already knowing what it would say. Notice of intent to file. Civil suit. Victor Kane versus Logan Reed. Assault and battery, emotional distress, medical expenses, punitive damages. They were asking for $2 million. $2 million Logan didn't have. Would never have. He read through the legalese, the carefully constructed accusations, the threat buried in every paragraph. This wasn't about justice. This was about punishment, about a rich man who'd been embarrassed in public and had the resources to make someone pay for it. Logan set the letter down, rubbed his eyes. 8 months. 8 months of trying to build a normal life, to be a present father, to leave the violence behind. And now this. His phone rang again. This time he recognized the number. Jessica Tran, the college student from the Café. Mr. Reed, I hope it's okay I'm calling. I wanted to check if you're all right. I'm managing. Thanks for reaching out. I saw the news. What that lawyer said about you, it's not true. We all saw what really happened. I appreciate that. I mean it. My offer still stands. I'll testify if you need me to. So will the others who were there. We already talked about it. Nobody's going to let Kane get away with rewriting what happened. Something eased in Logan's chest. That means a lot. We're meeting at the cafe tomorrow morning. All of us who were there. Maria's idea. She wants to organize a statement of support. You should come. Logan hesitated. I don't want to make this bigger than it already is. It's already big. Hiding won't change that. Jessica's voice was firm. My brother emailed me last night. He saw the video in Afghanistan. Said it reminded him why he's over there, to protect people who can't protect themselves. You did that yesterday, Mr. Reed. You protected Maria and everyone else in that cafe from a bully. Don't let Kane make you feel ashamed of that. After they hung up, Logan sat for a long time, thinking about what she'd said, about shame and protection and the complicated math of violence. He'd spent 15 years being told he was protecting people. Freedom, democracy, the American way. Abstract concepts that felt very far away when you were in a firefight or watching a friend bleed out. But he'd believed in it, or tried to. Had done terrible things in service of that belief. And now, in a cafe in his hometown, he'd used those same skills for something immediate and real. He'd stopped a bully from hurting people, had shown restraint when he could have caused serious harm. Had done, by any reasonable measure, the right thing. So why did it feel like he was being punished for it? The afternoon crawled by. Logan cleaned the house, did laundry, tried to keep himself busy. He avoided his phone, avoided the news, avoided thinking about the legal nightmare closing in around him. At 2:30, he drove to Ava's school for pickup. He parked in his usual spot and immediately noticed the stares. Other parents looking at him, whispering, some with admiration, some with wariness, all with that uncomfortable awareness of someone who'd become public property. He kept his eyes forward, waiting. When Ava emerged, she had two friends with her. They stopped at his truck, the friends staring at him with obvious curiosity. "Hi, Mr. Reed," one of them said. "Are you really a hero?" "Get in the truck, Ava." "Dad, now!" His tone left no room for argument. Ava said quick goodbyes to her friends and climbed in. The other girls scattered. They drove in silence for several blocks before Ava spoke. "You didn't have to be rude to my friends. I'm not a zoo exhibit. They were just curious. I don't care. This isn't about me being cool or interesting. This is about a legal situation that could affect our entire life." Ava crossed her arms. Everyone at school was talking about it. The teachers, the students, everyone. Mrs. Morrison pulled me aside and asked if I felt safe at home. Logan's hands tightened on the wheel. "What did you tell her?" "The truth, that you're the safest person I know." She looked at him. But she didn't seem convinced. "I think she's going to call child services." Jesus Christ. Language. "Ava, this is serious." "I know it's serious." Her voice cracked slightly. "I know that guy is trying to make you look bad. I know people are saying stuff about you. I know it's scary. But hiding and being angry at everyone isn't going to fix it." And she was right. Logan hated that she was right, hated that his 12-year-old daughter had to be the voice of reason while he was spiraling. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I'm handling this badly." "Yeah, you are." She was quiet for a moment. Mom used to say that the only way to beat a lie is to tell the truth louder. Logan felt something crack in his chest at the mention of Sarah. Ava rarely talked about her mother, kept that grief private the way kids sometimes did. Hearing her invoke Sarah's wisdom now felt significant. "Your mom was smart. She married you, so her judgment was questionable." Despite everything, Logan smiled. "Fair point." They pulled into the driveway. Ava unbuckled but didn't get out immediately. "Are you going to fight this?" she asked. "Actually fight. I mean, not just wait and hope it goes away?" Logan thought about the certified letter sitting on his kitchen table, about Victor Kane and his lawyers and the $2 million lawsuit, about the news coverage and the public opinion and all the ways this could still go wrong. But he also thought about the cafe, about Maria and Jessica and the other witnesses who'd already said they'd support him, about the truth of what happened, regardless of how Kane's lawyers tried to spin it. "Yeah," he said, "I'm going to fight." Ava nodded, satisfied. "Good. Because I didn't move here and leave all my friends so you could give up when things got hard." She got out of the truck and headed inside, leaving Logan sitting alone with the weight of his decision. That evening, Logan made 2 calls. The first was to a legal aid organization that helped veterans navigate civilian legal issues. They gave him 3 names of lawyers who might take his case pro bono or on contingency. He left messages with all 3. The second call was to Detective Chen. "I want to make a formal statement," he told her. "On the record, everything that happened, start to finish." "You sure? Once it's official, Kane's lawyers can use it." "They're going to come at me anyway. At least this way the truth is documented." "All right, come by the station tomorrow. 9 a.m. Bring any documentation you have The threatening text, the lawsuit notice, everything. I will. Logan, for what it's worth, I think you're making the right call. This case has gotten messy, but the evidence is on your side. We just need to make sure it stays that way. Friday morning, Logan woke early and dressed carefully. Khakis, a button-down shirt, his only sport coat. He wanted to look responsible, stable, not like the dangerous PTSD-addled veteran Kane's lawyers were portraying. He dropped Ava at school with a promise to text her updates. Then he drove to the police station, arriving 15 minutes early. Detective Chen met him in the lobby, led him to an interview room. This one was bigger than her office, with a camera mounted in the corner and a recording device on the table. This is official, she explained. Everything you say is on the record. Take your time, be thorough, and stick to facts. Don't speculate, don't editorialize. Just tell me what happened. For the next hour, Logan walked through the entire incident. Chen asked questions, clarified details, occasionally stopped the recording to confer with him about specific legal points. By the end, Logan felt wrung out, but also oddly relieved. The truth was documented now, in his own words, with no filter or interpretation. Good, Chen said when they finished. I'll get this transcribed and filed. Should be ready by end of business today. What happens next? The DA reviews everything, your statement, Morrison's report, the witness accounts, the video. Then they decide if there's enough evidence to pursue charges against you or Kane, or both, or neither. How long? Could be a week, could be a month. Depends on how backed up they are and how much pressure Kane's lawyers apply. She walked him to the door. But Logan? Off the record? I've been doing this job for 12 years. I've seen a lot of self-defense cases. Yours is about as clear-cut as they come. You're going to be okay. Logan wanted to believe her, tried to. From the station, he drove to the Bluebird Café. Maria had said the witnesses were meeting there at 10, and Logan figured he owed them the courtesy of showing up. The cafe looked different in the light of day, with the knowledge that cameras were probably watching. Logan counted 3 news vans parked across the street, reporters lounging against them, waiting for something newsworthy. When he pushed through the door, every head turned. The cafe was packed, more people than it could comfortably hold. Logan recognized some of them from Wednesday. Others were strangers. Maria emerged from behind the counter, her face lighting up. Logan, everyone, this is Logan Reed. Scattered applause broke out. Logan felt his face heat. That's not necessary. Yes, it is, said an older man standing near the counter. What you did took guts and class. Not many men would have shown that kind of restraint. I just wanted my coffee, Logan said, trying to deflect. Jessica Tran stood up from a table in the corner. We all wrote statements, detailed accounts of what we saw. We're taking them to the police and the media. Kane's not going to control this narrative. You don't have to do that. This isn't your fight. It became our fight when that asshole turned this cafe into a circus, Maria said firmly. We take care of our own here, and like it or not, Logan, you're one of ours. The next hour was overwhelming. People wanted to shake his hand, share their own stories of dealing with bullies, tell him he was an inspiration. Logan tried to be gracious, tried to accept it, but inside he was screaming. He wasn't a hero. He was just a guy trying to get through the day without screwing up too badly. But nobody wanted to hear that. They wanted the story, the narrative, the feel-good moment. Around 11, one of the reporters from outside ventured in. Young woman, probably mid-20s, with a camera operator behind her. Mr. Reed, I'm Jennifer Walsh from Channel 7 News. Can I ask you a few questions? No? Just a brief statement. People want to hear your side of what happened. My side is in the police report. Read that. But don't you want to respond to Victor Kane's allegations about your PTSD, your potential danger to the public? Logan felt his jaw clench. I don't have PTSD, and I'm not a danger to anyone who doesn't attack me first. So you admit you attacked Mr. Kane? That's not what I said. The camera was rolling now. Logan realized his mistake too late. He'd engaged, and now they had footage of him looking defensive and angry. Jessica stepped between them. He's not answering questions. Please leave. This is a public place, and we're asking you to leave. If you don't, we'll call the police. The reporter held her ground for a moment, then signaled her camera operator. They left, but Logan knew the damage was done. That clip would be on the evening news, probably edited to make him look worse. "I need to go," he told Maria. "Thank you for this, but I can't. I need to go." He pushed through the crowd, ignored the voices calling after him. Outside, the reporters swarmed, microphones in his face, cameras tracking his every move, questions shouted over each other. "Mr. Reed, how do you respond to Kane's lawsuit? Are you worried about criminal charges? Do you regret using force against a civilian?" Logan kept walking, eyes forward, jaw clenched. Made it to his truck, climbed in, locked the doors. The reporters pressed against the windows, still filming, still shouting. He started the engine and pulled away carefully, not wanting to give them footage of him acting recklessly. In his rearview mirror, he watched them scatter, already uploading their clips, already writing their headlines. His phone rang. Unknown number. He ignored it. It rang again, different number. Ignored. Third time. He answered without thinking. "Logan Reed?" Male voice, professional. "This is Robert Chen from Chen and Associates. I'm an attorney specializing in civil defense. I saw your case in the news, and I'd like to offer my services." "I can't afford a lawyer. I'm offering pro bono representation. Your case has merit, and frankly, Kane's allegations are offensive to every veteran who's successfully transitioned to civilian life. I'd like to help." Logan pulled over, put the truck in park. "Why? Why what? Why do you want to help? What's in it for you?" Chen was quiet for a moment. "Publicity, if I'm honest. This case is getting national attention. Winning it would be good for my firm. But also because I believe you were wronged, and I don't like bullies who use lawyers as weapons. What would your representation entail?" "I handle the civil suit. I work with the DA on the potential criminal charges. I manage media when necessary, and I make sure Kane understands that you're not an easy target." Logan thought about Ava, about the $2 million lawsuit, about the reporters outside his house, and the whispers at school, about doing this alone versus having someone who knew how to fight this kind of battle. "Okay," he said. "I'm in." "Excellent. Can you come to my office this afternoon? We need to start building your defense immediately." They set a time. Logan hung up, sat for a moment in his parked truck. He'd made his choice. No more hiding, no more hoping this would blow over. He was fighting back. The question was whether fighting back would save him or destroy everything he'd built. Only one way to find out. Robert Chen's office occupied the third floor of a renovated warehouse downtown, the kind of space that tried hard to look modern, with exposed brick and industrial lighting but couldn't quite hide its age. Logan climbed the stairs, the elevator was broken, naturally, and found himself in a reception area that smelled like fresh paint and ambition. The receptionist was a young man with thick-framed glasses and a carefully cultivated beard. "Mr. Reed, Robert's expecting you. Go right in." The office beyond was smaller than Logan expected. One desk, 2 chairs, filing cabinets lining the walls, and a window that overlooked a parking lot. Robert Chen stood when Logan entered, early 40s, slight build, wearing a suit that had seen better days but was still pressed and professional. "Logan Reed." Chen extended his hand. "Thanks for coming on short notice." They shook. Chen's grip was firm but not aggressive, the handshake of someone who didn't need to prove anything. "Have a seat. Want some coffee? Water?" "I'm good." Chen sat back down, pulled out a legal pad already covered in notes. "I've spent the last 2 hours reviewing everything I could find about your case. The video, the news coverage, Kane's statement, social media reaction. Want to know what I think? That's why I'm here. I think Victor Kane made a massive mistake going after you publicly, and I think his lawyers know it, which is why they're pushing so hard." Chen tapped his pen against the pad. "The video is devastating for their case. Clear evidence of Kane initiating contact, throwing the first punch, you showing restraint. But they're banking on 2 things. Your military background scaring a jury, and you not having the resources to fight a prolonged legal battle." "They're right about the resources." "Maybe, but they're wrong about everything else." Chen leaned forward. "Here's what's going to happen. We're going to respond to their lawsuit with a countersuit. Assault, harassment, defamation for their public statements about your mental health. We document every threat, every attempt at intimidation, and we make it clear that going after you will cost Kane more than just money. It'll cost him reputation. Logan shifted in his chair. I don't want this to drag out. I have a daughter. The longer this goes, the more it affects her. I understand, which is why we're going to be aggressive, not reactive. Aggressive. We control the narrative from here on out. Chen pulled out a folder, slid it across the desk. I need you to sign these. They authorize me to represent you, give me access to your military records for evidence of your training and discipline, and allow me to speak to media on your behalf. Logan picked up the papers, started reading. What do you mean, speak to media? Right now, Kane's side is the only one talking. Every news outlet is running his version of events because it's the only official statement they have. We need to change that. I don't want to be on camera. You don't have to be. I'll do interviews. I'll release statements. But we need to get ahead of this before his narrative becomes the accepted truth. Chen waited while Logan continued reading. Look, I know this is uncomfortable. You're a private person, you want this to go away, but silence right now reads as guilt. We need to be smart about this. Logan signed the papers, slid them back. What's the timeline? Kane's lawyers filed the civil suit yesterday. We have 30 days to respond. The DA's decision on criminal charges could come any time between now and next month. In the meantime, we gather evidence, take depositions from witnesses, and build our case. Chen made a note on his pad. I'm also going to reach out to the other people in the cafe. Jessica Tran already sent me her statement. It's good, detailed, credible. If the others are half as solid, we're in excellent shape. They want to help, I just don't want them dragged through this. They're already in it. Kane's lawyers will interview them regardless. Better they're prepared and on our side than caught off guard. Chen set down his pen, looked at Logan directly. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. All right. Do you have PTSD? The question hung in the air. Logan thought about the nightmares that still came sometimes, though less frequently now. About the hypervigilance that never quite went away. About the way loud noises still made him flinch, just for a second, before his brain caught up and reminded him he was safe. I have some symptoms, he said carefully. Nothing that affects my daily functioning. Nothing that makes me dangerous. Have you been diagnosed? No. I refused the VA evaluation when I got out. Didn't want it on my record. Chen nodded slowly. That's actually going to help us. Kane's lawyers are claiming you have PTSD, but there's no medical evidence to support it. It's pure speculation designed to make you look unstable. So what do I do if they push for an evaluation now? We'll cross that bridge if we come to it. But honestly, I don't think it'll get that far. This case is too clean. The video shows everything we need. Chen checked his watch. I have another client in 20 minutes, but before you go, how are you holding up? Personally, I mean. The question surprised Logan. I'm managing. That's not what I asked. Logan was quiet for a moment. It's hard. Watching strangers decide who I am based on a 3-minute video. Having my daughter fielded questions at school. Wondering if I'm going to lose everything because I defended myself. That's not going to happen. You can't promise that. No, Chen admitted, but I can promise I'll do everything in my power to prevent it, and I'm pretty good at my job. They shook hands again. Logan left the office feeling slightly less adrift than when he'd arrived. Having Chen on his side wouldn't make the problem disappear, but at least now he wasn't facing it alone. Outside, the afternoon sun was bright and harsh. Logan checked his phone. 2 messages from Ava asking when he'd be home. One from his mother demanding he come to dinner on Sunday to explain this whole mess. And 17 missed calls from reporters. He ignored the reporters, texted Ava that he was on his way, and called his mother back. Logan Michael Reed, what in heaven's name have you gotten yourself into? Hi, Ma. I'm fine. Thanks for asking. Don't get smart with me. I've had 3 different neighbors call asking about you. Mrs. Patterson said she saw you on the news being attacked by reporters. Is that true? They weren't attacking me. They were just asking questions. Aggressively asking questions. There's a difference. He heard her sigh. Your father wants to talk to you. Hold on. Shuffling sounds. Then his father's gruff voice. You all right, son? Yeah, Dad. I'm okay. This guy Kane. He started it? He did? And you showed restraint? Much as I could. Then you did the right thing. Let the lawyers sort out the rest.
His father paused. Your mother wants you here Sunday, 4 o'clock. Don't be late. I'll be there. Bring Ava. She shouldn't be alone in all this. She won't be. Logan hung up, sat in his truck for a moment. His parents had never been demonstrative people. No long heart-to-hearts, no emotional processing sessions. But they showed up. They supported. In their own way, they were telling him they had his back. He started the engine and headed home. Ava was waiting on the front porch when he pulled up, her backpack beside her and her phone in her hands. She looked up when she heard the truck, and Logan could see the tension in her shoulders ease slightly. How'd it go? She asked as he climbed the steps. Got a lawyer. Pro bono. He seems good. Pro bono means free, right? Right. So we're not going to lose the house? Logan stopped, looked at his daughter. Is that what you've been worried about? Ava shrugged, not meeting his eyes. I heard you on the phone last night, talking about the lawsuit, the money. I did the math. We don't have $2 million. Hey. He waited until she looked at him. We're not losing the house. We're not losing anything. The lawyer thinks this case is solid. Kane's going to realize he made a mistake and back off. You don't know that. No, but I believe it, and I need you to trust me on this. She nodded, but Logan could see the doubt still there. 12 years old and already carrying too much weight, too much awareness of how fragile everything was. They went inside. Ava disappeared to her room to do homework, or more likely, text her friends about the drama. Logan made himself useful in the kitchen, starting dinner prep even though neither of them were particularly hungry. His phone rang. Detective Chen. Logan, got some news. The DA reviewed your statement. They're declining to press charges against you. Relief washed over him so intensely he had to grip the counter. They're sure? Completely. The evidence is overwhelming. Self-defense, clear and simple. They're also looking into charging Kane with assault, but that's still under review. What does that mean for the civil suit? It helps, a lot. Kane's lawyers were banking on criminal charges to bolster their case. Without that, they're standing on pretty shaky ground. Chen paused. There's something else. The threatening text you forwarded me, we traced it, came from Kane's personal phone. So he violated the no-contact advisement. He did. I'm documenting it. If he tries anything else, any contact, any threats, anything, call me immediately. We're building a pattern of harassment. After they hung up, Logan allowed himself a moment to breathe. No criminal charges. It wasn't over, but it was progress. Significant progress. He texted Robert Chen with the update. The response came back quickly. Excellent. This changes everything. Kane's lawyers will know the DA's decision by end of day. I expect we'll hear from them next week with settlement offers. Don't accept anything without talking to me first. Dinner was quiet. Ava picked at her food, clearly distracted. Logan didn't push. Sometimes silence was easier than trying to find the right words. After they ate, Ava retreated back to her room. Logan cleaned up, then settled on the couch with his laptop. Against his better judgment, he pulled up the news coverage again. The story had evolved. Some outlets were now questioning Kane's version of events, pointing out inconsistencies between his statement and the video evidence. Others were interviewing military experts who explained the level of restraint Logan had shown, how easily he could have caused serious injury, but hadn't. Public opinion was shifting. The comment sections, which Logan knew he shouldn't read but couldn't help himself, showed a definite trend. People were starting to see Kane as the aggressor, Logan as the wronged party. But there was still a vocal minority calling Logan dangerous, claiming he should have just walked away, arguing that his training made him responsible for avoiding confrontation entirely. Those comments stung worse than the others because they echoed his own doubts. Should he have left earlier? Could he have diffused it better? He closed the laptop, rubbed his eyes. Second-guessing wouldn't change anything. What was done was done. Around 9, there was a knock on the door. Logan checked the peephole. Mark, his brother, holding a six-pack of beer. Figured you could use some company, Mark said when Logan opened the door. Ava's still up. So we'll drink in the garage like responsible adults. Mark pushed past him, headed for the kitchen. Grab some glasses, unless you want to drink straight from the bottle like we're 19 again. They settled in the garage with the door cracked for air. Mark popped 2 beers, handed one to Logan. So, hell of a week.
That's putting it mildly. Saw the video. You handled it well. Logan took a long drink. Doesn't feel that way. Because you're getting sued by some rich asshole who can't handle being embarrassed. Doesn't change the fact that you did everything right. Mark leaned back in his folding chair. Remember Sergeant Kowalski back at Bragg? Yeah, what about him? Remember what he used to say about engagement rules? Logan thought back. Violence is a tool. Use it precisely or don't use it at all. Exactly, and that's what you did. You used precisely the amount of force needed to stop the threat. No more, no less. That's not something to be ashamed of. That's something most guys with your training never learn. Try telling that to Kane's lawyers. Screw Kane's lawyers, they're just doing their job, which is making noise until you settle. But you've got the truth on your side, Logan. That counts for something. They sat in companionable silence for a while, drinking their beers. The garage smelled like motor oil and old cardboard, familiar and grounding. How's Ava handling it? Mark asked eventually. She's scared, trying not to show it, but I can tell. She asked if we were going to lose the house. Mark swore under his breath. She's 12. She shouldn't be worrying about that. She's 12, and she's already lost her mother. She knows how fast things can fall apart. This won't fall apart. You won't let it. Logan wanted to believe that. Tried to. Mark left around 10, taking the empty bottles with him and leaving Logan with a promise to check in later in the week. Logan locked up, checked on Ava, asleep with her phone still in her hand, and retreated to his own room. Sleep didn't come easy. He lay in the dark, listening to the house settle, his mind running through scenarios. What if the settlement offers were lowball attempts to make him go away? What if Kane refused to settle and pushed for trial? What if a jury decided against him despite the evidence? Around midnight, his phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Enjoy your little victory with the DA. Won't matter. I'm going to destroy you. You and your daughter. Logan sat up, heart pounding. Screenshot. Forward to Chen. Block number. But the damage was done. Sleep was impossible now. He got up, paced his room, tried to calm the adrenaline flooding his system. Threats against Ava changed everything. This wasn't just about him anymore. He pulled up Robert Chen's number, hesitated. It was past midnight, but this couldn't wait. Chen answered on the third ring, voice thick with sleep. This better be important. Kane threatened my daughter. Silence. Then Chen's voice came back, fully alert now. Tell me exactly what the message said. Logan read it verbatim. Send me the screenshot, right now. Logan heard movement, the sound of a laptop booting up. This is beyond harassment. This is witness intimidation and potentially terroristic threats. I'm calling Detective Chen first thing in the morning. What do I do right now? Nothing. You document everything, you don't engage, and you let me handle it. Kane just made a massive mistake. Judges don't look kindly on people who threaten children. After they hung up, Logan stood at his window, watching the dark street. Every car that passed made him tense. Every shadow became a potential threat. He'd faced worse than Victor Kane. Had dealt with people who were actually dangerous, actually trained, actually motivated by ideology or survival. Kane was just a bully with money and a fragile ego. But bullies with money could still do damage. And when they started threatening kids, all bets were off. Logan checked the locks on all the doors and windows. Not out of real fear, he knew Kane wasn't going to show up personally, but because doing something was better than doing nothing. Saturday morning arrived gray and cold. Logan woke after maybe 3 hours of broken sleep, made coffee, and checked his phone. 2 messages from Robert Chen. Spoke with Detective Chen. They're taking the threat seriously. Patrol car will drive by your house periodically today. Don't worry, this helps our case significantly. The second message, Kane's lawyers just called. They want to meet. Tuesday, 2 p.m. I think they're ready to negotiate. More soon. Logan showed Ava the increased police presence when she came down for breakfast. Explained it matter-of-factly without going into detail about the threat. She was quiet, processing. Is he going to come here? She asked finally. No, he's not that stupid. This is just a precaution. But he threatened me. Why would he do that? Because he's desperate. Because he knows he's losing and he's lashing out. Because some people never learned how to deal with consequences. Ava stirred her cereal without eating. I don't like this.
I know, me neither, but it's almost over. The lawyers want to meet Tuesday. I think they're going to offer a settlement. What does that mean? It means Kane pays us some money to make this go away. We drop any charges, he drops his lawsuit, and we all move on with our lives. How much money? Don't know yet, but enough to make the past week worth it, hopefully. I don't want his money. I want him to admit he was wrong. Logan smiled despite himself. That would be nice, but rich guys like Kane don't admit they're wrong. They just throw money at problems until the problems disappear. That's not fair. No, but it's reality. They spent Saturday lying low. Logan took Ava to a movie, something mindless and fun that let them both forget about lawsuits and threats for 2 hours. They got ice cream after, walked around the mall, did normal father-daughter things that felt almost rebellious given the circumstances. When they got home, there was a package on the porch. No return address. Logan's instincts flared immediately. Go inside, he told Ava. Dad, now. She went. Logan approached the package carefully, looking for anything suspicious. It was small, wrapped in brown paper, his name written in neat block letters. He called Detective Chen, explained the situation. Don't open it. I'm sending someone over. 20 minutes later, a patrol car arrived. The officer, young, cautious, examined the package with gloved hands, opened it carefully while Logan and Ava watched from inside the house. Inside was a newspaper clipping. The article about the Café incident with Logan's face circled in red marker. And a note, also in block letters. Heroes die too. The officer bagged it as evidence, took Logan's statement, promised increased patrols. After he left, Logan triple-checked all the locks. He's just trying to scare you, Ava said. She was sitting on the couch, trying to look brave and failing. Right? He's not actually going to do anything? Right. This is intimidation. He wants me to drop the case out of fear. Are you going to? Logan looked at his daughter, saw Sarah in her features, in her stubborn chin and determined eyes. Sarah, who'd never backed down from anything, who taught Ava that standing up for yourself mattered even when it was hard. No, he said, I'm not. Sunday dinner at his parents' house was tense. His mother fussed, his father was quieter than usual, and Ava picked at her food while the adults tried to pretend everything was normal. Over dessert, Logan's mother finally addressed it directly. This Kane person, he's dangerous, he's desperate, different thing. Police think you're safe? They're watching the house, documenting everything. His lawyers know he's making it worse for himself. His father spoke up. You need anything? Money? A place to stay? Anything. You tell us. We're okay, Dad, but thank you. Ava, honey, his mother said, you want to stay here for a few days? Just until this settles down? Ava looked at Logan, a question in her eyes. It's up to you, he said. I want to stay with Dad. His mother looked like she wanted to argue but didn't. All right, but if you change your mind, we're here. They left around 7. The drive home was quiet, both of them lost in thought. Grandma's worried, Ava said finally. She's always worried. It's her default state. She thinks Kane might actually hurt us. Logan glanced at her. What do you think? Ava was quiet for a long moment. I think he's a coward who only feels big when he's pushing people around. And I think cowards don't actually do dangerous things. They just threaten them. That's pretty insightful for 12. I'm very mature for my age. That you are. Monday crawled by. Logan stayed home, avoided the news, tried to keep his mind occupied. Robert Chen called in the afternoon with an update. Kane's lawyers want to settle. They're offering $50,000. That's it? It's an opening offer. They know it's low. We're going to counter with $500,000, plus a public apology and agreement not to pursue any further legal action. They'll never agree to the apology. Probably not, but it gives us room to negotiate. We'll settle somewhere in the middle, probably $200,000 to $300,000. No apology, but a non-disclosure agreement that prevents Kane from talking about the incident publicly. I can live with that. Good. I'll let them know. Meeting's still on for tomorrow. Be prepared for them to try to intimidate you. They'll make Kane out to be the victim. They'll imply you're unstable. They'll suggest the threats aren't real. Don't engage. Stay calm. Let me handle it.
I've dealt with worse than corporate lawyers. I don't doubt it, but this is my battlefield, not yours. Trust me to fight it. Tuesday morning, Logan dressed in his best clothes again, kissed Ava goodbye, dropped her at school, and drove to Robert Chen's office. The meeting was in a conference room at a downtown law firm, Kane's lawyer's territory, an obvious power play. Logan walked in with Chen at his side, taking in the scene immediately. Long table, leather chairs, windows overlooking the city, and at the far end, Victor Kane flanked by two lawyers in expensive suits. Kane looked different than he had in the cafe. Smaller somehow, diminished. His arm was in a sling, theatrical, Logan thought, since the medical report showed no significant injury. His face was drawn, and there were dark circles under his eyes. Good. Let him lose sleep too. The lead lawyer, a woman in her 50s with silver hair and a shark smile, stood to greet them. Mr. Chen, Mr. Reed, I'm Margaret Blackwell. This is my associate, David Morrison. Please, have a seat. They sat across from Kane and his legal team. Logan kept his expression neutral, his posture relaxed. He'd negotiated with warlords and insurgent leaders. This was nothing. Let's get right to it, Blackwell said. My client is willing to settle this matter. $50,000, mutual non-disclosure. Both parties agree to drop all claims. That's insulting, Chen said flatly. Your client assaulted mine, then launched a smear campaign questioning his mental health. $50,000 doesn't begin to address the damage. Your client used excessive force against a civilian. My client required medical attention. Your client got his arm checked out and was sent home with Tylenol. Let's not pretend he was seriously injured. The back and forth continued. Logan tuned it out, watching Kane instead. The man wouldn't meet his eyes, kept fidgeting with his sling, looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. Finally, Blackwell pulled out a folder. There's also the matter of the ongoing threats against your client. Texts, packages, very concerning, especially since they're coming from your client, Chen said. We have no evidence of that. The texts came from Kane's phone. Anyone could have accessed his phone. And the package, the newspaper clipping, that just materialized out of thin air? Blackwell smiled. Circumstantial at best. But let's say, hypothetically, my client did feel strongly about this situation. Strongly enough to express his displeasure. That would indicate he's someone you don't want as a long-term adversary. Chen leaned forward. Is that a threat, Ms. Blackwell? It's an observation. Well, here's my observation. Your client is facing potential criminal charges for those threats. Witness intimidation, terroristic threats against a minor. He sent a threatening message about my client's 12-year-old daughter. That's not negotiable leverage. That's a felony. For the first time, Blackwell's confidence wavered. We're prepared to address those allegations separately. No, we're addressing them now, because here's what's going to happen. Either Kane agrees to a settlement that actually reflects the damages he's caused, agrees to stop all contact with my client and his family, and formally apologizes for the public statements about PTSD and mental instability, or we go to trial. And at trial, we present all the evidence, the video, the witnesses, the threats, everything. We let a jury decide what a rich businessman who attacks veterans and threatens children deserves to pay. Blackwell conferred with Kane in whispers. Logan watched them, saw the moment Kane realized he had no leverage, saw the deflation as his bravado crumbled. 300,000, Blackwell said finally. Non-disclosure, no admission of wrongdoing, and a cease and desist on all contact. 300,000, non-disclosure, a formal retraction of all public statements about Mr. Reed's mental health, and the cease and desist, Chen countered. And if your client violates that cease and desist in any way, the settlement is void and we proceed to trial. More whispers. Kane's face was red now, his jaw clenched. Agreed, Blackwell said. Chen pulled out pre-prepared documents. I took the liberty of drafting settlement papers. We can finalize them today, have the funds transferred by end of week. They spent the next hour hammering out details. Logan signed where Chen indicated, watching Kane scrawl his own signature with visible reluctance. When it was done, Blackwell and her associate gathered their things and left quickly. Kane started to follow, then paused at the door. This isn't over, he said, looking directly at Logan for the first time. Yes, it is, Chen said. And if you violate that agreement, I'll bury you, legally speaking. Kane left without another word. In the sudden quiet of the conference room, Logan let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. "You did good," Chen said. "Stayed calm, didn't engage. Perfect." "Is it really over?" "The lawsuit is. The threats should stop. He knows the consequences now. You'll get your money by Friday, and in a week or so, this'll all be yesterday's news." Chen started packing his briefcase. "Take your daughter somewhere nice. Take a vacation. Try to forget the past week happened." Logan stood, shook Chen's hand. "Thank you for everything. Thank you for trusting me. And Logan, what you did in that cafe, showing that kind of control, that kind of discipline, that's what real strength looks like. Don't let anyone tell you different." Logan drove home in a daze. It was over. Actually over. No trial, no prolonged legal battle, no threat of losing everything. Just over. He picked up Ava from school, and the moment she climbed in the truck, he told her, "It's done. Kane settled. It's over." She stared at him. "Really? Really? How much?" "Enough that we don't have to worry for a while. Enough for you to go to college without loans, enough to breathe." Ava's eyes filled with tears. Relief, Logan realized, not sadness. She'd been carrying this weight too, and now it was gone. "Can we get pizza?" she asked, her voice shaky. Logan laughed. "Yeah, we can get pizza." That night, they celebrated with terrible reality TV and too much food. Ava fell asleep on the couch halfway through the third episode, and Logan carried her to bed the way he used to when she was small. He stood in her doorway for a moment, watching her sleep. 12 years old, growing too fast, carrying too much. But safe. Home. His. Back downstairs, Logan's phone buzzed. Email from Chen with the finalized settlement documents attached. He saved them without reading, then deleted every news article, every video, every reminder of the past week from his browser history. It was over. Time to move forward. Wednesday morning felt different. Logan woke at his usual 5:30, but for the first time in over a week, the weight on his chest was gone. No pending lawsuit, no threats, no reporters camped outside waiting for a statement. Just the quiet normalcy of his small house and the sound of birds starting their morning routines outside his window. He made coffee, checked his phone out of habit. 3 messages, all routine. 1 from the bank confirming the settlement deposit would process Friday. 1 from Robert Chen with final paperwork to sign. 1 from Mark asking if he wanted to grab beers this weekend. Normal. Finally, blessedly normal. Ava came downstairs earlier than usual, already dressed for school. She looked lighter, too, like someone had untied an invisible rope that had been pulling her down. "Morning," she said, pouring herself orange juice. "Can I ask you something?" "Always." "What are we going to do with the money?" Logan had been thinking about that since yesterday. $300,000 was more than he'd ever had at one time, more than seemed real. His first instinct was to be practical. College fund, emergency savings, maybe fix the truck's transmission that had been making concerning noises for months. But looking at Ava now, seeing the tentative hope in her eyes, he reconsidered. "What do you want to do with it?" he asked. She thought for a moment. "I want to go somewhere. Not forever, just a trip. Somewhere Mom always talked about going but never got to." Logan's throat tightened. Sarah had kept a list on their fridge. Places she wanted to visit someday. Italy, Ireland, the Grand Canyon. Someday had run out before she'd made it to any of them. "Where were you thinking?" "Ireland. Remember how she used to talk about seeing the cliffs of Moher? How her grandmother came from County Cork and she always wanted to trace the family history?" Ava's voice was soft. "I know it's expensive and maybe stupid, but it's not stupid." Logan sat down across from her. "And yeah, we can do that, this summer maybe. Give us something to look forward to." Ava's smile was genuine, unguarded. The first real smile he'd seen from her in days. "Really? Really. We'll plan it out, do it right. Visit the cliffs, track down some distant cousins, eat too much Irish food." He paused. "Your mom would have liked that." "She would have loved it." Ava finished her juice, grabbed her backpack. "Can we go to the cafe this morning? I know you've been avoiding it, but I kind of miss the blueberry muffins." Logan hesitated. The Bluebird Cafe had become ground zero for the whole mess, the place where everything changed. Part of him wanted to avoid it forever, find a new routine that didn't carry the weight of that morning. But Ava was right. Running from it gave Kane power he didn't deserve, and Maria had been nothing but supportive through everything. "Yeah," he said, "let's go." The cafe looked exactly the same as it had 9 days ago. Same tables, same smell of coffee and pastries, same bell chiming when they walked through the door. But the atmosphere was different. Conversation stopped when Logan entered. Every head turned. Then Maria emerged from behind the counter, her face breaking into a wide smile. "Logan, Ava, I was hoping you'd come back." She came around the counter and hugged them both, which was new. Maria wasn't usually a hugger. "Your regular order?" "Please." As Maria went to prepare their food, the other customers returned to their conversations, but Logan felt their glances, their awareness. He chose his usual table in the back corner, old habits, and Ava sat across from him. "People are staring," she whispered. "Let them stare." "Doesn't it bother you?" "Not as much as it used to." Logan looked around the cafe, met a few eyes directly. Some people smiled, others looked away. All of them went back to their business. Maria brought their order personally, along with an extra muffin. "On the house. And Logan, I wanted to thank you. Since the video went viral, we've had 3 times our normal traffic. People want to visit that cafe where the veteran stood up to the bully. It's been incredible for business. I'm glad something good came out of it." "More than something. We're finally making enough to hire another employee, maybe expand the menu." She lowered her voice. "I heard about the settlement. I'm happy for you. You deserve that and more." After she left, Logan and Ava ate in comfortable silence. The muffin was exactly as good as he remembered. The coffee exactly the right temperature. Small pleasures, but they mattered more now. Halfway through breakfast, the door opened and Jessica Tran walked in. She spotted Logan immediately, came over with her own coffee. "Mind if I join you for a second?" "Please." Logan gestured to the empty chair. Jessica sat, smiled at Ava. "You must be Ava. I've heard a lot about you." "All bad, I hope," Ava said, and Jessica laughed. "Actually, all good. Your dad talks about you like you hung the moon." She turned to Logan. "I wanted to tell you, my brother came home last week, early rotation, and the first thing he wanted to do was meet you." Logan shifted uncomfortably. "He doesn't need to do that." "He wants to. He saw the video in Afghanistan, showed it to his whole unit, said it reminded him why he's fighting, to protect people who can't protect themselves, and to make sure guys like him can come home and be normal again." Jessica pulled out her phone, showed Logan a photo. Young man in AC Us, sandy hair, tired eyes that looked older than his face. "That's Danny. 22 infantry, second deployment. He's struggling with the transition, wondering if he'll ever feel normal again. And then he saw you, saw that it's possible." Logan looked at the photo, saw himself at 22, saw every soldier he'd ever served with who'd made it home but couldn't quite figure out how to stay there. "Tell him I'd be happy to meet him, grab coffee, talk, whatever he needs." "Thank you. That means everything." Jessica stood to leave, then paused. "And Logan, what happened here wasn't just you defending yourself. You showed a lot of people what controlled strength looks like. That's worth something." After she left, Ava looked at her father with an expression he couldn't quite read. "What?" he asked. "Nothing. Just, I forget sometimes that other people see you as more than just my dad who makes terrible jokes and burns dinner twice a week. I don't burn dinner that often. Last week you turned spaghetti into charcoal. That was one time. It was 3 times. Well," Logan couldn't argue with that. "Fair point." They finished breakfast and headed to Ava's school. When Logan pulled up to drop her off, she unbuckled but didn't immediately get out. "Dad? Thanks." "For what?" "For not giving up. For fighting back. For showing me that standing up for yourself doesn't mean you're looking for a fight. Sometimes it just means you're refusing to be pushed around." She smiled. "Also for agreeing to Ireland. That's pretty cool too." She climbed out and joined her friends, leaving Logan sitting in his truck with something warm expanding in his chest. Pride, maybe. Or just the relief of having done something right for once. The rest of the week passed quietly. Logan met with Robert Chen to sign final paperwork, confirm the settlement deposit, and tried to adjust to the strange reality of financial security. He paid off the truck, fixed the transmission, put a substantial amount into Ava's college fund, and started researching trips to Ireland. Friday afternoon, Detective Sarah Chen called with an update. Wanted to let you know, the DA decided to pursue charges against Kane, assault and criminal threats. He's looking at probation and mandatory anger management, possibly community service. He'll hire lawyers and make it disappear. Maybe. But it'll be on his record regardless. And between you and me, word is getting around about what he did. Several business partners have distanced themselves. Kane Development lost a major contract this week. The client specifically cited concerns about Kane's judgment and temperament. So he's facing consequences. Real ones, the kind money can't entirely fix. Chen paused. How are you doing? Really? Logan thought about it. Better. Still processing, but better. Good. You handled this whole situation with a lot of grace. A lot of guys in your position would have either folded completely or escalated until someone got hurt. You found the middle path. Didn't always feel that way. Rarely does. But for what it's worth, you did good. Saturday morning, Logan woke to find Ava already in the kitchen making pancakes, or attempting to. The batter looked suspicious, and the first few attempts were burned beyond recognition. Need help? Nope. I got this. She flipped a pancake that immediately fell apart. Okay, maybe I need a little help. They cooked together, falling into the easy rhythm they'd developed over the past 8 months. Ava mixed new batter while Logan handled the actual cooking. They ate at the kitchen table, sunlight streaming through the windows, and for a few minutes Logan let himself believe this was how things would stay. Peaceful, simple, safe. His phone buzzed. Email from an address he didn't recognize. Subject line: Thank you. Logan almost deleted it. He'd gotten dozens of messages from strangers over the past week, some supportive, some critical, all unwanted. But something made him open this one. Mr. Reed, you don't know me, but I was in the cafe that morning, the businessman sitting by the window. I didn't give a statement to police, and I didn't speak to the media, and I'm ashamed of that now. I watched that whole confrontation, and I did nothing. I told myself it wasn't my business, that someone else would intervene, that getting involved would just make things worse. I was a coward. And watching you handle that situation, seeing you try every possible way to diffuse it peacefully, only using force when absolutely necessary, showing restraint that most people couldn't manage, it made me realize how often we all make excuses for not doing the right thing. I can't change my inaction that day, but I wanted you to know that you inspired me to be better. I've started volunteering with a veteran support group, helping guys transition back to civilian life. It's not much, but it's something. Thank you for reminding me what courage actually looks like. Best, Thomas Garrett. Logan read it twice, then showed it to Ava. That's nice, she said. See? You made a difference. I just wanted coffee. Yeah, well, sometimes the world has other plans. Sunday dinner at his parents' house was less tense than the previous week. His mother had clearly decided the crisis was over and returned to her default mode of feeding everyone too much and asking invasive questions about Ava's social life. His father pulled Logan aside after dessert, led him out to the garage. Wanted to give you this. He handed Logan an envelope. It's not much, just a few thousand. For your trip to Ireland. Dad, you don't have to. I know I don't have to. I want to. Your mother and I never got to travel much when you and Mark were young. Always meant to, never did. Don't make our mistakes. His father's expression was serious. Sarah would have wanted Ava to see the world. Honor that. Logan accepted the envelope, embraced his father briefly. They weren't demonstrative men, but sometimes a gesture said more than words could. That night, after Ava was asleep, Logan sat on his back porch with a beer and looked at the stars. The night was clear, unusually so, and he could make out constellations he'd learned during field exercises in places far from here. He thought about the past 2 weeks, about Victor Kane and the Café and the legal battle that could have destroyed everything, about the threats and the fear, and the moments when he'd wondered if walking away from the military had been a mistake, if he was too damaged to live a normal life. But he'd made it through, not perfectly. There were things he'd do differently if he could go back. But he'd protected himself and his daughter, stood up to a bully without becoming one himself, and somehow landed on his feet. Maybe that was enough. Maybe that was what success looked like in civilian life. Not dramatic victories or clear-cut missions, just navigating the messy complexity of everyday existence without losing yourself in the process. His phone rang. Logan checked the caller ID, unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. "Mr. Reed, this is Danny Tran, Jessica's brother. I hope it's not too late to call." "It's fine. Jessica said you wanted to talk." "Yeah, if that's okay. I saw the video and look, I know this sounds stupid, but I'm struggling. With being back, with feeling normal, with figuring out who I am when I'm not deployed. And seeing you handle that situation, seeing that it's possible to use what we learned over there without letting it define us." Danny's voice was rough, uncertain. "I guess I just wanted to know how you do it, how you turned it off." Logan thought about that, about the hypervigilance he still felt in crowds, the nightmares that still came sometimes, the way he still cataloged exits and threats without thinking about it. "I didn't turn it off," he said finally. "I just learned to channel it differently. The awareness, the training, the discipline, that doesn't go away. But you get to choose when and how to use it. And most of the time, you don't need it. Most of the time, life is boring and safe and normal. The trick is being okay with boring." "I don't know if I can be." "You can. It just takes time, and it's okay to struggle with it. That doesn't make you broken. It makes you human." They talked for another 20 minutes. Danny asked questions about transition, about finding purpose outside the military, about dealing with people who didn't understand. Logan answered as honestly as he could, sharing what had worked for him while acknowledging that everyone's path was different. When they finally hung up, Logan felt something shift. Maybe Jessica was right. Maybe what happened at the cafe wasn't just about defending himself. Maybe it was about showing other veterans that coming home didn't mean losing everything they'd learned, just learning when not to use it. The following week settled into a new routine. Logan returned to this cafe every Wednesday morning, reclaiming his ritual. Maria always had his order ready, and gradually the stares decreased as people got used to seeing him there. He became just another regular again, which was exactly what he wanted. He met with Danny Tran for coffee, introduced him to a veteran support group, watched the younger man start to find his footing. Jessica joined them sometimes, grateful to see her brother connecting with someone who understood. The news coverage faded as new stories took over the cycle. Logan's name stopped appearing in articles. The video views plateaued and eventually declined. Life moved on, the way it always did. Robert Chen called 2 weeks after the settlement to check in. "How are you adjusting?" "Good. Better than I expected." "And Kane? Any contact?" "Nothing. He's disappeared completely. I heard his company is struggling, but that's not my concern anymore." "Good. Let him deal with his own consequences." Chen paused. "I wanted to tell you, I've been getting calls from other veterans in similar situations. Guys who defended themselves and are facing excessive force claims. Would you be willing to talk to them, share your experience?" Logan hesitated. "I'm not an expert." "You don't have to be. You just have to be someone who made it through to the other side. Sometimes that's enough." "Yeah, okay, I can do that." Over the next month, Logan spoke with a dozen veterans facing legal issues after defending themselves in civilian situations. He couldn't offer legal advice, but he could offer perspective. He could tell them about choosing the right lawyer, documenting everything, not letting public opinion define them. He could remind them that discipline and restraint were strengths, not weaknesses. And slowly he started to see that Jessica had been right. What happened at the cafe had become larger than just his story. It had become a symbol of something: controlled strength, measured response, the possibility of bringing military training home without letting it consume you. 6 weeks after the settlement, Logan and Ava sat in his truck outside Riverside Middle School on the last day of classes. Summer stretched ahead, full of possibility. "Ireland trip is booked," Logan said. 3 weeks starting July 15th. Dublin, Cork, the Cliffs of Moher, a few small towns where your mom's family might have come from." Ava's eyes lit up. "Really? You actually booked it?" "Tickets, hotels, rental car, the whole thing." She hugged him across the bench seat, fierce and genuine. "Thank you. This is going to be amazing." "It is, but first you have to survive your last day of 7th grade." Please. I've survived way worse than that recently. She wasn't wrong. Ava climbed out of the truck, joined her friends streaming into the building. Logan watched her disappear into the crowd, feeling that familiar mix of pride and terror that came with watching your kid grow up. His phone buzzed. Text from Mark. Beers tonight? Got something to celebrate. Logan typed back. Yeah, what are we celebrating? You made it through the shitstorm. That's worth celebrating. Logan smiled. 7 o'clock, usual place. That evening, sitting in a dive bar with his brother, cheap beer and cheaper pretzels between them, Logan felt something close to contentment. The settlement money was in the bank. The legal nightmare was over. Ava was happy and safe. And summer was coming, bringing with it Ireland and new memories to replace the difficult ones. You look better, Mark observed. Less like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. Feel better. It's weird. What is? Not being in crisis mode, just existing. It's been a long time since things were actually okay. Mark raised his beer. To things being okay. May it last longer than we expect, and may we actually enjoy it instead of waiting for it to end. They clinked bottles. You ever think about what you would have done differently? Mark asked. That morning at the cafe? Logan considered the question. He'd asked himself the same thing 100 times. Should he have left earlier? Should he have called police before it escalated? Should he have used different techniques? No, he said finally. I did the best I could with what I knew at the time. Anything else is just second guessing. That's growth right there. Old Logan would have beaten himself up for weeks. Old Logan had different priorities, different responsibilities. Ava's good for you, gives you something to focus on besides your own head. She's the only thing that kept me sane through all of this. Logan took a long drink. When Kane threatened her, that's when I knew I couldn't just wait it out. Had to fight back. Parental instinct is strong. It's everything. They drank in comfortable silence for a while, the bar filling up around them with the usual Friday night crowd. Nobody recognized Logan, or if they did, they didn't care. He was just another guy having a beer with his brother. Normal. Finally, blessedly normal. 3 days later, Logan received a package in the mail. This one had a return address, Margaret Blackwell's law firm. His stomach dropped before he reminded himself the settlement was done, signed, complete. Inside was a single document. Victor Kane's formal retraction published in the local newspaper, stating that his previous comments about Logan Reed's mental health and stability were unfounded and regrettable. It wasn't an apology, Kane's ego apparently couldn't stretch that far, but it was acknowledgement, public acknowledgement that he'd been wrong. Logan read it twice, then filed it away. It didn't change anything, didn't undo the stress or the threats or the fear, but it was closure of a sort. He texted Robert Chen. Got the retraction. Thanks for pushing for it. You earned it. How's civilian life treating you? Good. Better every day. Glad to hear it. Stay out of trouble, Reed. Logan smiled. That's always the plan. July 15th arrived with surprising speed. Logan and Ava stood in the international terminal at the airport, luggage checked, boarding passes in hand. Ava was practically vibrating with excitement, scrolling through her phone to show Logan pictures of every place they were going to visit. We're really doing this, she said. We're actually going to Ireland. We are. Mom would have loved this. Yeah, she would have. They boarded the plane, found their seats. As they taxied toward the runway, Ava grabbed Logan's hand. I'm glad it's just us, she said quietly. Doing this together. Logan squeezed her hand. Me too, kiddo. The plane lifted off, carrying them away from everything that had happened toward something new. Logan looked out the window at the city getting smaller below them, at the life he'd built there. Messy and imperfect, but his. 2 months ago, he'd walked into a cafe wanting nothing more than coffee and quiet. He'd gotten a fight he didn't ask for, a legal battle he couldn't avoid, and threats against everything he cared about. But he'd also gotten something unexpected. He'd proven to himself that he could bring his military training home without letting it consume him, that he could stand up for himself without becoming the aggressor, that discipline and restraint were strengths, not weaknesses. And most importantly, he'd shown Ava that when life threw something terrible at you, you didn't have to curl up and take it. You could fight back. You could protect yourself and the people you loved. You could survive and come out stronger on the other side. The cafe incident would always be part of his story. But it wasn't the whole story. It wasn't even the most important part. The most important part was sitting next to him, excited about visiting a country her mother had dreamed of seeing, trusting her father to give her the life she deserved. Logan Reed had been a lot of things: soldier, operative, survivor. But the only title that mattered now was the one Ava had given him: Dad. And that was a role he'd spend the rest of his life trying to get right. The plane climbed through the clouds, and Logan closed his eyes, let himself imagine Ireland. Green hills and ancient castles and a fresh start in a place where nobody knew his face or his story. 3 weeks to just be a father and daughter, exploring the world together. When they got back, life would continue. Danny Tran and the other veterans would call with questions. The settlement money would need to be managed responsibly. Ava would start 8th grade and all the drama that came with it. But that was future Logan's problem. Right now, he was just a man on a plane with his daughter, heading toward an adventure his wife had dreamed of, carrying forward her memory in the only way that mattered: by living. By choosing joy when he could and weathering the storms when he couldn't. By showing up every day and trying his best, even when his best fell short. By being enough. The plane broke through the cloud layer into brilliant sunshine, and Ava pressed her face to the window, marveling at the view. Logan watched her, felt something settle in his chest. Peace, maybe. Or just the absence of fear. Either way, he'd take it. They were going to be okay. Not perfect, not without challenges, but okay. And sometimes okay was more than enough. Sometimes it was everything.